Welcome back, everyone. This is your host, the DN WhatIf, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of what if Deku decided to kill himself but was unharmed? A special shout out to the original creator, Bumble_B22. This is the permission statement by the author in written. Please make sure to show your support by checking out their work from the description. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. Shoyuta was on patrol when he received the call. Apparently, Nightfall had been apprehended, and since Eraserhead was assigned to that case, he was requested down at the station. He should have known something was off when he didn't see the kid all patrol, but he definitely hadn't expected to get a phone call saying Nightfall was caught on the whole other side of town. Nevertheless, here Shoyuta was, observing as the young boy sat across from Tsukachi, still donned in his full vigilante attire. He listens intently as the interrogation begins, but Nightfall doesn't give Tsukachi the chance to speak before questioning the detective. "Why am I here? I haven't done anything illegal." His voice is even calm. Detective Tsukachi, however, appears very taken aback. "Before we begin, I am required to inform you that my quirk allows me to detect if the person I speak to is lying." Shoyuta notices, slightly confused, as the boy's eyes begin to sparkle with interest at the mention of the quirk. Despite this, his voice remains calm. "And was I lying when I said I haven't done anything illegal?" After a brief pause, "No." "So what's the problem, detective?" "I still have a few questions for you," Tsukachi says, ignoring the vigilante's snark. "First, what's your name?" "Nightfall," he says, a smirk adorning his face. "I meant your real name." "Since I haven't done anything illegal, I don't think I have to answer that," Nightfall retorts. With a sigh, Tsukachi continues. "You are correct. However, vigilantism is illegal. Are you or are you not a vigilante, Nightfall?" "Well, by definition, a vigilante is someone who uses their quirk as an act of preventing, investigating, or punishing perceived offenses and crimes without legal authority, correct?" "That is correct," Tsukachi confirms. "In that case, no, I am not a vigilante. You can check my file. It clearly states that I'm quirkless." The detective pauses before pinching the bridge of his nose. "I don't need to check your file, I can see you're telling the truth. Besides, since you haven't given us your name, we don't have your file on hand. So I haven't done anything illegal, since I haven't used any quirk to stop villains," the kid concludes confidently. With another sigh, Tsukachi stands. One moment, he exits the room, leaving Nightfall alone with his smug expression. "Ah, Eraserhead, you're here," Tsukachi greets as he returns. "Did you hear everything?" Shoyuta nods, but before he can speak, Endeavor pushes past him aggressively. "He's lying," the flaming hero snarls. "He obviously has a quirk. He's most likely been brainwashing the victims." The room falls silent. Shoyuta shoots the man a bored glare. "Or," he continues, "he might have a pain tolerance type quirk. When I grabbed him, he barely reacted despite being burned." Shoyuta swiftly turns to face the number 2 hero. "You burned him? Why the hell did you lay your hands on him?" Taken aback by the sudden outburst, Endeavor splutters. "He kicked me in the face. I was just defending myself. I don't have to explain my actions to you, Eraserhead." Suppressing a laugh at the fact that Nightfall kicked Endeavor in the face, Shoyuta turns his attention back to Tsukachi. "He was telling the truth, wasn't he, Nightfall?" "Yes, for all of it." The detective sighs. "However, I suggest we keep him here a little longer. Even if he didn't use a quirk, it can't be legal to go out and attack people, even criminals. Vigilantism should apply to everyone, regardless of having a quirk or not." The others in the room nod, but Shoyuta hesitates. "But he's a kid, Tsukachi. We just need to detain him for a while longer, Aizawa." As the detective says this, 2 guards escort Nightfall out of the interrogation room, handcuffed. The kid quickly spots Shoyuta, and with a subtle wink toward the hero, he trips. The guards lurch forward to catch him, but the room is suddenly filled with smoke. A smoke bomb? Where did the kid get those? Knowing where to look solely from the months spent following him, Shoyuta watches as Nightfall walks confidently out the front door of the department. Just before completely disappearing, the vigilante turns and locks eyes with Shoyuta through the smoke, putting up 2 fingers to his head in a salute. With a small smile, Shoyuta turns away from the door, focusing on the chaos within the room. He chuckles to himself quietly, watching as the 2 guards who were escorting Nightfall exchange baffled words as they discover the handcuffs that now bind them together. This kid is going to be the death of me, I just know it. When Izuku meets up with Eraserhead again, it's amusing to say the least. Seated on the rooftop, tending to a small cut on his arm, Izuku notices the hero quietly coming up behind him. "Hey Eraser. Nice to see you again," he greets, without looking up, catching the hero by surprise. "I'm never going to be able to sneak up behind you, am I?" Eraserhead says this with a sigh, but Izuku can hear the amusement in his voice. "Nope. I heard you kicked Endeavor in the face." Finally looking up, Izuku smirks smugly at the tired hero. "Hell yeah, I did. He deserved it. But that was like a week ago. You gotta keep up, Eraser." Eraserhead sighs once more. "How's that burn on your leg?" He glances down at Izuku's pants, which conceal the burned area. Izuku had instantly healed, killing himself upon returning. He hates the feeling of burns, so he didn't even finish his patrol that night before heading home. Now, all he's left with is a nasty scar. But he can't reveal that to Eraserhead. Once again, "That was so long ago, I'm doing great," Izuku replies nonchalantly. "Kid, that was a few days ago." Izuku just shrugs, returning his gaze to the stars. "How's it going with those 3 friends you mentioned before?" There's a tinge of hesitation in the man's voice, but he asks nonetheless. "I made up with one of them, we still meet up twice a week. He only knows me as Nightfall though." After a second he adds on, "I used to know him. He doesn't recognize me though." Eraserhead watches him curiously, absorbing every word. "And the other 2? "I've been avoiding them," Izuku grimaces. "I was so rude to my one friend, I can't face him after being such an ass. I haven't even responded to his texts in over a week. Even if I did reply, he probably wouldn't answer." He pauses, rubbing his face. "And then there's the other one. He was the first adult who actually cared for me. I'm scared he'll pry for information if I show up after leaving so abruptly." "The first adult to care for you?" Izuku shrugs. "What about your parents?" He shrugs again. Eraser sighs. "I think you should respond to your friend's text, maybe apologize, and go meet with the adult. If he truly cares about you, he should understand if you don't want to talk about it." "Says you?" Izuku scoffs. "What's that supposed to mean?" Eraserhead sounds almost insulted. "You can be super fucking pushy when you want to be, old man. You should take your own advice. I'm just worried about you, kid. And why do you keep calling me old? How old do you think I am?" At this, he definitely sounds offended, even as he tries to hide it. Izuku scrutinizes the hero. He has deep eyebags and the scruff of a growing beard. Probably like 35? 35? You're not even close. 38? That's the wrong direction. I'm not in my 30s. Oh, that makes so much more sense. I didn't want to be rude or anything. Eraser lets out a sigh of relief. So you're like 42? His eyes widen, practically bulging out of his head as Izuku cackles. "I'm 29. Izuku stops laughing, staring straight into the hero's wide eyes, before beginning to laugh even harder, clutching his stomach. Eraserhead growls and looks away, but not before Izuku notices the edges of his lips curling into a smile. Izuku passes by the park on his way home, his gaze landing on the cat cafe that stands at the end. Maybe I really should go apologize, I am hungry after all. He walks hesitantly toward the cafe, peering the window and watching as the cats play freely. A flash of blonde catches his eye as Mike emerges from the back, causing Izuku to duck under the window, hoping to go unnoticed. He stays there for a few moments, before slowly backing up. He plans to turn the corner and run for it as soon as he can. Unfortunately for him, he bumps into someone behind him. "Oh, sorry," she begins, but as he takes in the person in front of him, his eyes widen and he clamps his mouth shut. "Fucking found you, asshole." Shinso stands, looming over the green-haired boy and glaring daggers at him. Izuku slowly begins to back away, but Shinso reaches out before he can escape. He grabs him by the wrist, winces, then switches his grip to Izuku's shirt instead. Shit, he still hasn't forgotten about the scars. Shinso drags Izuku to a bench on the other side of the park, pushes him down and sits across from him. Aizu, he begins, but is promptly cut off. No, let me go first. I'm so sorry, Shinso. I shouldn't have said all that. I'm sorry. I understand if you don't want to train together anymore. The other boy just stares at him, a shocked expression on his face that Izuku can't quite comprehend. Aizu, no, I'm not mad at you. I don't blame you, I wanted to apologize. What? Why? I shouldn't have pushed when you were clearly uncomfortable, and I shouldn't have reacted the way I did either. I'm sorry. He lowers his head, fidgeting with his hands. I don't accept your apology. Shinso's head snaps up, eyes widening. Aizu I don't accept it, he continues, because you have nothing to apologize for. You didn't do anything wrong, and you shouldn't be feeling guilty. But no buts. So pull yourself out of that grave of self-pity and come train with me. Shinso just stares after him for a moment as Izuku gets up and begins walking toward the beach, before he quickly follows suit. And you don't have anything to apologize for either, Aizu? They exchange smiles, but then Shinso's expression turns serious. But please, for the love of God, don't ghost me. Please respond to your fucking phone. I'm always scared I'm gonna find you dead in a ditch somewhere. I can't deal with that shit, it's not good for my heart. Izuku sheepishly looks at the ground. Sorry, I won't do that again. I'll buy you food if you forgive me. Shinso bumps his shoulder playfully. Deal. Patrol had been surprisingly easy, which should have been the first red flag. However, Izuku happily jumps from rooftop to rooftop, unaware to the impending pain that awaited him. Checking the time, he realizes it's almost time to visit Bakugo. One last fight, then I'll go. They had a schedule down after meeting up for nearly 3 weeks, and both of them, being stubborn, made it so that there was always a race to see who could get to the house first. Izuku quickly finds his next victims, spotting 2 men fighting in an alley. He suspects they might be rival 2 gang members from the sound of it, but he can't be certain. Regardless, someone could get seriously hurt. Without hesitation, he jumps from the roof and joins the fight. Stay out of this, Nightfall, one man snarls, the wind beginning to blow harshly where he stands. Izuku is accustomed to being addressed by his vigilante name since so many people know of him somehow, so he doesn't startle at that. He does startle, however, when the second man pulls out a gun, aiming it at his opponent. If you use your quirk, I'll shoot. Izuku curses under his breath and runs forward. As he does, the wind begins to intensify, skirling around the 3 of them. The second man cocks the gun. I warned you, asshole. The gunshot resonates throughout the whirlwind, but the bullet doesn't hit its intended target. No, it hits Izuku. He sucks in a breath as the wind dies down, and the 2 men freeze momentarily, before putting aside their differences and fleeing the scene. Izuku places his hand to his stomach, pulling it back to see it covered in blood. Shit. I need to get home. I can text Bakugo and let him know I can't make it once I'm there. However, as he reaches for his phone, he realizes he no longer has Bakugo's number saved after his old phone broke. Shit. Shinso's words echo through his mind, lecturing Izuku for ghosting him. God damn it. I can't just leave without explaining. He's gonna be mad at me if I do. He quickly bandages the still bleeding wound, and determines that he is stable enough to make a brief stop at his old house. I'll just tell him I'll meet him on Thursday and that I can't stay today. Yeah, that'll work. It won't. As Izuku slowly limps toward the house, he prays that the darkness will conceal his blood-stained clothing. Clumsily climbing to the rooftop, he pauses once he's fully pulled himself, catching his breath. His vision grows blurry as he stands on the edge. Took you long enough. Bakugo walks over, but stops before getting too close. I came to say that I can't stay. I'll see why you on Thursday, Izuku stutters out, his words slurring together slightly. The fuck? Is that blood? What happened? Bakugo's voice is filled with concern as he steps closer to Izuku. Unfortunately, Izuku can no longer decipher the words that come out of the blonde's mouth. It hurts. Feeling lightheaded, his vision becomes blotchy, and his eyes flutter closed. He tries to focus on Bakugo's voice, but it's too faint, too distant. He feels himself tilting backwards. As his consciousness begins to fade, a hand grips his arms, and at last, he can finally discern Bakugo's desperate words, hearing him cry out as he falls backwards. Izuku! He's late. Why is that rat so late? Katsuki sits on the rooftop of Izuku's old house, waiting for Nightfall's arrival. But when the vigilante finally appears, his impatience turns to concern. The hooded figure is limping down the street. Limping? He struggles to pull himself onto the roof, taking much longer than normal. Something is clearly wrong. Took you long enough. Why is he holding his stomach like that? What's wrong with him? I came to say that I can't stay. I'll see you on Thursday, the boy stutters as he stands precariously on the edge of the roof. His hand falls to his side, revealing red-stained bandages around his midsection. The fuck? Is that blood? What happened? Katsuki takes a step closer, his concern turning into fear. Nightfall? What the fuck happened? He demands, but the vigilante shows no sign that he heard him at all. Rat? Nightfall. Look at me. Katsuki snaps his fingers in front of the boy's face, but his eyes flutter closed. Panic rises within Katsuki as a gust of wind suddenly sweeps through, blowing off Nightfall's hood and revealing a head full of viridian green hair. Just like he begins to tilt backwards. Katsuki's eyes widen in horror. Izuku! He screams, lunging forward. He grabs onto the boy's arms at the last moment, pulling him back onto the roof. No. Don't do this to me, Izuku, Katsuki pleads, laying the limp body on the roof and checking for a pulse. He finds a faint, irregular one. Racking his brain for any past knowledge, Katsuki places his hands on the other's chest and starts CPR, his tears mingling with his desperate attempts to revive the vigilante. Come on, Izuku, wake up. He continues the compressions with gasping breaths of his own. You can't save anyone when you're breaking down yourself, idiot. He tries to regain control of his fast breathing with little success, but presses on. He pauses the compressions to check for a pulse again. He finds none. Wake up, you jerk! Katsuki's voice breaks as tears stream down his face. He no longer attempts to hold back his sobs. Don't do this. Don't die on me again. Please, Izu, wake up. His tears fall on Izuku's face, but the green-haired boy doesn't react. Katsuki pulls him onto his lap, holding him tightly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I wasn't fast enough. This is all my fault. Please, wake up, Izu. Wake up. He continues to sob, clutching the lifeless body of his childhood friend. I can't lose you again, not after you just got here. Please don't leave me. Katsuki whispers, but there's no response to his pleas. Katsuki has finally calmed down. Well, as calm as he can be, with his best friend having died twice now. Best friend? Who am I kidding? At least he's no longer having a panic attack. Instead, after he ran out of tears, he was left in a state of numbness. After tirelessly attempting CPR for what felt like an eternity, rain began to fall. So Katsuki did what any logical person would do. He kicked down the boarded-up door of Izuku's old house and placed the body in his childhood bedroom. Katsuki's throat had grown raw from screaming, though his screams were not directed at Izuku. Well, some of them were. But mostly he had screamed at himself. At the universe. At the stars that did nothing as Izuku's innocent soul was taken. Now, he sits curled in a ball across the room from where his friend's lifeless body lies. He had unzipped Nightfall's mask momentarily, just to confirm that it was truly Izuku, but he quickly zipped it back up after. He couldn't bear to look at the pale, scarred skin. In all reality, Katsuki had suspected that Nightfall could be Izuku for weeks now. Too many coincidences. Those eyes, that voice, his habits too. Sure, he's more confident and self-assured now, but that doesn't change the fact that he mumbles when lost in thought, or how he picks at his hands when nervous, or the glint he gets in his eyes when talking about heroes. Not to mention, the idiot slipped up and called him Kakin multiple times. practically confirming all of Katsuki's suspicions. Only a complete idiot wouldn't be able to put the pieces together, and Katsuki sure as hell was no idiot. He doesn't sleep that night, his thoughts too loud. Too filled with the past, with regret. Too many scenarios of ways he could have been different, better. So as the hours passed, Katsuki sits wide awake and just watches, eyes fixated on Izuku's lifeless form. Waiting. As if Izuku will suddenly sit up and smile at him, just like he used to. But of course he doesn't. His body remains cold and motionless, unresponsive on the hard floor. Until he sits up. Groaning, Izuku slowly rises, feeling disoriented. Why am I on the floor? What happened? Damn it, I hate not having all my memories, he thinks bitterly, cursing his quirk side effects. A gasp from the other side of the room catches Izuku's attention, and his eyes go wide. Why is Bakugo here? The blonde is sitting pressed against the back wall, gaping at Izuku, his face as pale as a ghost. What the fuck? Am I hallucinating? Oh fuck, the lack of sleep must be getting to me. Bakugo mutters, shutting his eyes tightly and burying his head between his knees. Shit. Izuku tries to stand, wanting to comfort the trembling blonde, or maybe to escape, but as soon as he gets to his feet, he collapses. I forgot this happens when I bleed out on an empty stomach? I'll just stay down here for a moment. Bakugo stares at the collapsed body for a good few minutes before finally moving. He creeps to the boy's side and places 2 fingers on his neck, checking for a pulse. After a sigh of relief, Izuku assumes he found one. You better fucking explain everything, de Nightfall, Bakugo demands, but his voice trembles, giving away his true emotion. Izuku sighs. I will just, give me a second. Stay here. And then he's gone. After a little while, Bakugo returns with food. He sits across from Izuku and pushes a packed bento toward him. And explain. It's my quirk. I revive after death, Izuku states, turning away from the explosive boy to eat his food. That's not possible. Your Nightfall's supposed to be quirkless. Besides, there's no quirks like that. They don't fucking exist. Okay? Izuku stares at the back of the frustrated blonde's head. Then how the fuck am I still here? Bakugo has no answer. How many times have you died? He seems hesitant to hear the answer, speaking in a low voice. Izuku finishes his food and re-zips his mask as he thinks. Well, I'll have to check my notebook to be completely sure. Notebook? Really? What? I like to keep track so I can learn how to improve my quirk. Izuku defends himself. Bakugo scoffs. Sure, nerd. So how many times? Well, I believe it's around 63 times in total now, but I might be a bit off. 63? What the fuck are you doing on patrol to die so much? I thought you were supposed to be a good fighter. I am. I'm not dying on patrol every time really. Izuku protests. Then how the fuck are you dying so much? Bakugo demands, suspicion evident in his voice. Only about half were from patrol. Probably less than half honestly, Izuku admits, avoiding eye contact by picking at his nail beds. And? Are people killing you when you're not on patrol or some shit? No. Come on rat. Spill it. The other ones were, suicide. I said it. I wonder if he's going to be mad, maybe disgusted. Instead, silence follows, his words hanging heavy in the air. Izuku finally meets Bakugo's eyes, watching as his face grows pale, his eyes widening in horror. In an attempt to alleviate the tension, Izuku continues to speak. Only about 20 were actual attempts to kill myself though. Maybe closer to 15 actually. But the other times, I didn't want to actually die and never wake up, I just wanted to sleep or heal. So it's really not that bad. I mean, sure I wouldn't be upset if I didn't wake up, but I wasn't going to sleep and actively seeking death. It's just become a routine. It's really not that bad at all. As he rambles on, Bakugo's face only grows paler. For the love of God, stop talking. You're making this so much worse, Bakugo groans, finally interrupting. Izuku snaps his mouth closed, staring at Bakugo who holds out his hand expectantly. Your phone. You have a phone, right? Yeah. Why do you want it? Despite the question, he places his phone in the other's hand. After a few seconds of typing, Bakugo hands it back. I added myself to your contacts. He levels a glare at the green-haired boy. If you die somewhere on patrol or can't get home, call me. I'll come get you. Got it, Rat? Izuku nods, a soft smile tugging at his lips. He knows he'll never actually call Bakugo for help, but it's comforting to have his number again. As Izuku walks home after assuring Bakugo he would be okay, the sense that he's missing something lingers in the back of his mind. Something that happened right before I died? All I remember is a surge of happiness and hope, but I can't recall why. I guess it's not important. I'll remember eventually. After grabbing his bag and changing into fresh clothes, Izuku heads toward the cat cafe. He wants a quiet place to write mainly, but also hopes to make amends with present Mike. As soon as he walks into the cafe, Izuku is swarmed by cats. They circle his feet, purring loudly for affection. Finding a booth near the back, he settles down, pulling out his notebook and pen. Not being able to give Bakugo the exact number of deaths had been bothering him. So he reads through the pages, recalculating his death count. I was a little off. For nearly 3 months, Izuku has died almost every day. He had stopped dying on patrol after the 2nd month, and although occasional deaths still occur, it was much more common for Izuku to end his life after returning home. Lost in thought, he doesn't notice the familiar head of blonde hair making its way to the table. Hey little listener, I missed you. Izuku offers Mike a small smile before returning his attention to his notebooks. I saw you entering and thought I'd bring over some food and water for you, Mike continues. I was worried when I didn't see you for a little while, but I'm glad you seem to be doing much better today. He thanks the older hero before starting to eat, still immersed in his own thoughts. Mike thankfully doesn't interrupt or press. He simply sits across from the hungry boy, absorbed in his book. I've died so much in the last few months, I wish I didn't have this stupid quirk. He sighs, continuing to eat. Why can't they just take it away? A light bulb suddenly goes off in Izuku's head. He jerks up in his seat, catching Mick's curious glance. There is someone who can take it away. And I even have his phone number. Swiftly finishing his meal, Izuku shovels the remaining food into his mouth and shoves his books back in his bag. He offers a quick goodbye and thank you to the perplexed blonde before dashing out the door. Izuku runs all the way home, not stopping once to catch his breath. He feels freer than he's felt in a long time. As he arrives home, he rips out 4 pages from his notebook and gets to work. The sun goes down just as Izuku finishes sealing his last letter. Cheerfully donning his nightfall gear, Izuku grabs his phone and sends a quick text to his 2 friends. With a satisfied smile, he begins his patrol. Katsuki was attempting to sleep when he receives the message. Normally, he would ignore any text he gets after 9 p.m., but having personalized ringtones for every contact in his phone proves advantageous at times. He instantly sits up and grabs his phone, a small swell of fear building in his chest. Shitty rooftop rat, hey it's me, I'm not hurt or anything but if I don't text you by this time TMRW, meet me at this location. Shitty rooftop rat, map.jpg. For a moment, Katsuki just stares at the message, not understanding what it means. You, TF? I'm not going. Why would I want to meet you there? He gets no response. You? I'm seriously not going unless you give me more info. Still, silence. You? Okay fuck you I'll go but if you're dead I'll kill you. The messages aren't even being read. Katsuki has a feeling that something is wrong, but instead of listening to the feeling he turns off his phone and goes back to bed. As he prepares to begin his patrol, Shuta's phone suddenly rings. Who would be calling this late? Glancing at the caller ID, his eyes widen. Incoming call from problem child. Shoyuta hastily answers the call, practically shoving the phone against his face. What's wrong? The voice on the other end laughs. Absolutely nothing, Eraser. I do need to ask a favor of you. I need your help. Shoyuta listens carefully as the kid tells him where to meet, assuring Nightfall that he will be right there. He sounds happy? No, that's not quite right. He sounded satisfied but not in a normal way. What could he want? Despite his suspicion, Shoyuta hurries to meet Nightfall, finding him on the roof of a nearby building. As soon as he spots the kid, Shoyuta can sense that something is wrong. Nightfall stands carefreely on the roof, gazing up at the sky. There's something off about his body language, as if he's bidding farewell to his surroundings. He doesn't seem fully present. What can I help you with? Shuda's voice causes the kid to turn his gaze to the hero, but his vision appears blurry, not fully focused. As soon as Nightfall spots him, a huge smile breaks across the kid's face. He stares at Shoyuda, although it feels as if he's looking past him. Eraserhead. I'm so glad you're here. Can you kill me? Izuku watches as Eraserhead pales, taking a step backward. Why does he look so taken aback by that? When the hero doesn't immediately respond, Izuku continues talking. I know heroes aren't supposed to kill and all, but I'm a bad vigilante and whatnot, so it would be doing society a favor. I'm quirkless too, so even better. He realizes he misspoke about being quirkless, but it doesn't matter at this point. Eraserhead just stares, his eyes wide and mouth agape. I'm not going to kill you. Why dash? Please, Eraser. Despite his attempts to conceal it, desperation seeps into Izuku's voice, infusing every word. Only you can do it. Please. After a shocked pause, the hero begins to protest even more. Why is he being so difficult? I don't see the problem here. Maybe I should approach this from a different angle. You're right, don't kill me. But can I still ask you a favor? Izuku continues before the hero can give an answer. I've always been curious about what your quirk would feel like as a quirkless person. Could you use it on me? Just for a moment? Eraserhead continues staring, unable to process everything that just transpired. In what must be an act of pity, he finally nods. Okay, I'll use my quirk on you. But afterward, we need to talk about what you said before, okay? Izuku happily nods. There won't be an after. With a sigh, the hero activates his erasure and looks into Izuku's green. And in an instant, Izuku has a knife in his hand, pressing it against his throat. He had researched the quickest ways to die, and with his supplies, slashing his throat seemed like the best option. Thanks, Eraser. Izuku forcefully pushes the blade of the knife against his throat and drags it across the tender skin of his neck in one swift motion. With one swift motion, Izuku forcefully pushes the knife blade into his neck and slits his throat. Or he would have, if a strong hand hadn't grabbed his wrist at the last moment. As soon as the kid pressed the knife to his neck, Eraserhead released his quirk and lurched forward. He pulled the hand and knife away from Izuku's welcoming throat, but the blade still managed to cause some damage. Blood trickles down Izuku's neck as he bares his teeth at the hero. Confusion and anger fill his face. What the fuck? Why did you do that? He growls. Eraserhead tightly grips both of Izuku's wrists, his eyes wide with fear. Why did I do that? What the fuck were you thinking? I was thinking, he spits out, that I'd finally get to escape this godforsaken world. But you had to go and fucking ruin it. I'm not going to stand here as you kill yourself. Eraser's voice trembles as he yells. Stop. Just stop. Izuku glares up at the hero, ripping his arms out of the man's grip. Don't you fucking pretend like you care. Don't even think about it. You're just like every other adult out there, so don't fucking pretend like you'll miss me when I die. Eraserhead freezes, his gaze softening. When? More like if at this point, Izuku thinks bitterly to himself. Kid, I don't know what adults you've been around, but I'm not pretending. I would care if you were gone. I do care about you. Izuku stares at the man, his eyes searching for any sign of deceit or falsehood. He finds none. However, the wounds from past betrayals make it difficult for him to fully believe what he says, so Izuku doesn't know if he can fully trust this man yet. I thought you were supposed to be cold and stoic, Eraserhead. He tries to shift the conversation. The tired hero notices the attempted subject change, but with a sigh, he plays along. You're right. Don't tell my students I'm like this, they would never let me live it down. Izuku offers a small smile in response. I'll keep your secret, and with those words, he turns to leave. Before he can get far, Eraserhead speaks again, reaching out and grabbing him by the shoulder. Before you go, can I trust that you won't attempt something like that again when alone? Izuku looks up at the man, a defeated look in his eye, and lets out a weary sigh. Believe me, if I could, I'd be dead already. Without waiting for a response, Izuku pulls away from Eraserhead and jumps to the next roof before he can see the shocked and confused look on the hero's face. He curses himself for even entertaining the idea that his plan might work. Of course I can't die. The universe fucking hates me after all. Instead of continuing his patrol, Izuku heads toward the underground ring. I just need to let off some steam. Just a few rounds in the ring can't hurt. Once Shuda's patrol is finished, he instantly calls Detective Tsukachi, reporting on his vigilante case. The detective picks up after 3 rings. Aizawa, what can I help you with? Tsukachi, this kid is suicidal. Nightfall. He asked me to kill him. The man on the other line pauses. What did you do? I tried to talk to him and figure out what was going on. He tried to kill himself. Shoyuta hates how his voice wavers as he speaks. Tsukachi pauses again. You didn't capture him? He shouldn't be alone at the moment if he's suicidal. Shit. I didn't. It slipped my mind. I wasn't thinking. The detective sighs. Okay, I'm going to put someone else on patrol for the next few nights. I think you need to take a break and get into a better mindset. Shoyuta grimaces at the idea, but before he can reject it, the detective continues to talk. I've known you for a long time, Aizawa. You need a break. The kid will be safe, I'll make sure of it. Shoyuta closes his eyes. But, thank you, Tsukachi. He hangs up. I don't need a break, I need to be there for nightfall. The tired man begins to boil water for some late-night tea. He reaches for a teacup, but as soon as he gets it off the shelf, it slips through his fingers and drops to the ground, shattering all around him. Shoyuta just stares. He hears footsteps from the other room and quickly begins to pick up the pieces, not wanting to bother his husband. Sho? Is that you? When Hizashi comes into view, he gasps and grabs a broom, rushing over to help. Honey, don't use your hands. You'll cut yourself. Shoyuta looks up at the worried face of his husband. You were awake? It's so late. Hizashi wouldn't have been able to hear the glass shatter if asleep, since he doesn't sleep with his hearing aids, but he must have been waiting for Shoyuta to return. I had a bad feeling after everything that's been happening lately. I wasn't able to fall asleep without you. The two discard the broken glass and take the water from the stove, retreating to their room. Hey Zashi, Shoyuta begins to speak after the two are curled up under the covers. Today the kid called me. He asked me to kill him. He said only I could do it. I don't know what that means. He's okay now, I think. But Tsukachi took me off patrol for the next week, so I'll be home for a while. Hizashi gazes into his husband's tired eyes as he speaks, nodding along to his words. As awful as that must have been for you to deal with, I'm glad the listener is okay. And I'm glad you'll be home for a while. I've missed you. Shoyuta sighs. Of course he's glad to be home, but he can't help but worry about nightfall. Seemingly sensing his husband's anxious thoughts, Hizashi rests Shuda's head on his chest and pets his hair lovingly. It's all going to be okay. He's going to be okay. Let's just sleep, love. What the fuck was this about? As soon as Izuku arrives at the beach, Shinso shoves his phone into the other's face. What about? Izuku asks, pushing Shinso's phone away. Hey, if I don't text you by this time tomorrow, meet me at this location. That's what you said. It sounds like you're going on a fucking suicide mission or something. Shinso's voice is angry, but Izuku can hear the concern behind the words. It was nothing. I just didn't know if it was nothing, he concludes, avoiding eye contact. And in an instant, arms wrap around him. Izuku tenses, not used to the feeling but relaxes after a moment. Before he can wrap his arms around the tall boy, Shinso pulls away. Okay, let's just spar already. I really want to punch your face right now. Izuku just laughs, a small smile on his face. The boys spar for about an hour before Shinso's complaining gets too loud for Izuku. Can we just take a quick break? I'm hungry, the purple-haired boy whines. Izuku sighs, but isn't able to keep the affection from his voice. Okay fine, you big baby. There's an ice cream place down the road. Shinso perks up. You're paying though, Izuku adds, and Shinso glowers at him. As they sit at the table outside of the shop, Izuku notices a bruise forming on the other's cheek and grimaces. Sorry about your face? Yeah, My dads are gonna think I'm being bullied, he responds with a fake huff of annoyance. Izuku laughs. Not my fault you decided to spar with a pro, Shinso. The boy smiles back at him. Call me Hitoshi. Izuku stares back at him, eyes wide. Really? Okay. But I've never called someone by their first name before. Shinso, no. Hitoshi just continues with his lazy smile. That's okay, you're like my first friend, so I thought it would be okay. If you want, you can call me by my first name too, Izuku offers, staring shyly at his hands. Would love to, but I don't actually know what your name is, Hitoshi responds with a smirk. Oh shit, yeah, I forgot. I mean, you're technically using my first name already? Hitoshi's eyes widen in horror. I am? I didn't know. Izuku's laugh cuts off the other boy before he can freak out more. It's okay, my full name is Izuku, but I don't mind Aizu. The two share a smile. My first real friend. Izuku waits on the rooftop for Eraserhead to show up. They had been meeting at that spot for a while, occasionally patrolling together. But Eraserhead didn't show up. Pushing down his unease, Izuku continues on. As he helps bandage a man's arm after he was harmed by a loose villain, Izuku can't help but overthink the situation. Maybe I fucked up my chance of getting closer with Eraser because of last night? I hope not. He had already called the police, letting them know where the villain and victim were, but as he patches up the young man, he feels an intense presence behind him. Endeavor stands towering over the Vigilante, glowering at him with flaming eyes. Izuku refuses to react, keeping his voice steady. Where's Eraserhead? The man just scoffs. That weak hero couldn't stay on his patrol, so I'm taking over for now. Anger rises in Izuku's chest as he hears the other call Eraserhead weak. Now, I have you cornered, Vigilante. We're going to the police, and this time, Endeavor snarls, I'm going to make sure you get thrown in jail. Izuku knows what he has to do. He runs. He uses his staff to help him get to the roof above, jumping with all his might as he extends it, catapulting him into the air. When he hits the tiles of the roof, he dashes away, hearing the angry voice following him. The chase goes on for a long time, Izuku being the slippery bastard he is, and Endeavor being too stubborn to give up. At one point, the flaming hero gets close enough to the Vigilante, aiming his fire at the moving target. The searing pain rushes through Izuku as soon as the blast hits him, burning the back of his leg. The kid tumbles down the roof, falling into an alleyway below. Before Endeavor can catch up, however, he quickly hides himself in a pile of trash. He stifles his gags, the sickening smell surrounding him. Closing his eyes, Izuku tries to breathe, but all he can think about is the pain of the burn, bringing back memories of the past. The sound of Bakugo's explosions echo through his head and he covers his ears with his hands. It doesn't help. After hiding long enough for Endeavor to leave, spitting curses as he goes, Izuku climbs out of the trash, staggering forward and falling harshly onto the ground. He can't put pressure on his leg without it causing a shudder of pain to flow through his whole body. So he limps home, practically crawling half of the way. When he arrives on his doorstep, he can barely see through his tears. He shoves the door open and collapses in the entryway. As soon as the door slams shut behind him, Izuku rips his knife out from the holder on his side. Slitting my wrists takes too long. I don't want to feel this anymore. Even 10 minutes is too long. I need a faster method. And so, thinking back to his last conversation with Eraserhead and the research he's done, Izuku holds the knife up to his throat, pressing the blade into his skin, and roughly slits his throat. He's dead in moments. You? Hey, wanna train today? Shinso, sure, meet at the beach in 30? Yeah. Izuku stares at the message for a minute before changing the other's contact name from Shinso to Hitoshi. He puts down the phone and starts his walk to the beach. Upon arriving, Hitoshi is already there. Izuku smiles at the tall boy, but it doesn't reach his eyes. Since this isn't when we'd usually hang out and spar, I usually just train on these days. Do you want to run with me? Hitoshi grimaces. Not really. I hate running. Izuku just shrugs, starting his warm-up stretches. If you want to get into UA, you should work on your whole body, not just on sparring. You need to improve your stamina and strength as well. Hitoshi just glares at him, but begrudgingly begins to stretch as well. Izuku is glad when they begin the run. It allows him to clear his mind. Unfortunately for him, every time his pant leg rubs against his left leg, a jolt of pain shoots up his body. Burns are hard to deal with, even with his quirk. They heal after dying but stay sore and sensitive to the touch for a while. Even the scars on his shoulders from Bakugo still burn every once in a while. But as he runs, the pain gets worse with every step. Aizu, let's stop for a second. Hitoshi pants, hands on his knees. I can't keep up. And what's wrong with your leg? You're limping. Izuku tenses. Nothing. Just a small injury. My pants keep rubbing against it so it's uncomfortable. There, I didn't give anything away but answered the question still. That should make him stop pushing. It doesn't. Well, we're right by my house actually. We can stop by and grab a pair of shorts for you, the tired boy offers, motioning toward where his house must be. No, that's okay. Thanks, but I'll manage. Izuku turns away, hoping that's the end of the conversation. I need some water anyways, so we can just stop by real quick, he continues as if Izuku hadn't spoken and begins walking toward the apartment complex. Only one of my dads is home, but he's probably sleeping right now. Izuku reluctantly follows Hitoshi, arriving at his house after a short walk. Before opening the front door of the apartment, Hitoshi turns toward the smaller boy. You're not allergic to cats, are you? He shakes his head. Okay, good, we have 3. Hitoshi opens the door, revealing a fluffy white cat. That's Princess, but don't let the name fool you. She's an absolute menace. Izuku's eyes widen in awe as he squats down, reaching a hand out to pet the cat. Princess turns her head as Izuku pets her soft fur, her eyes staring into his soul. Whoa, she's so pretty. Yeah, you could say that. Hitoshi takes off his shoes and walks over to the living room. My dad's asleep out here, but come meet Bastard real quick. Bastard? That's our other cat. My dad found him in a trash can outside. Izuku walks over, excited to meet the second cat, but once he peers over the couch, he freezes. Don't worry, he sleeps like the dead. You won't wake him, Hitoshi says, noticing the green-haired boy's hesitation. But that wasn't why he froze. No, he froze because on the couch, under the short-haired gray cat, lay the one and only Eraserhead. His dark eyes are closed and he's wearing a black shirt with a picture of a cat on it. Izuku gulps, taking a step back. Can we go get the shorts? Sure, Sushi is probably upstairs too. That's our newest kitten. Hitoshi leads the anxious boy upstairs to his room. Upon entering, Izuku takes in his surroundings. There are purple LED lights lining the wall, where many posters of bands and heroes sit. Hitoshi walks to his dresser, grabbing out a pair of shorts and tossing them to Izuku. I'm going to grab water. Come on down when you've changed. After downing a cup of water, Hitoshi waits for Aizu to return downstairs. He had reacted strangely to seeing his dad, but he wasn't sure why. I know he knows who Eraserhead is. I wonder if he recognized him. Before he can contemplate it more, the freckled boy descends the stairs and begins to slide his shoes back on. Hitoshi quickly follows. Once outside, the questions begin. You have 2 dads, right? Aizu tilts his head, his voice trying to portray it as an innocent question, but his eyes give him away. Hitoshi can tell there's something he's missing, but not knowing what, he just answers the question. Yeah, Pops usually works during the day. Are you related to one of them by blood? Hitoshi shakes his head. Nah, I was adopted when I was 9. Before that, I had been moving from house to house in foster care. He pauses at the bad memory. I never stayed at a house for longer than a year. None of them wanted me because of my quirk. The memory of the muzzle flashes in his mind, but he quickly banishes the thought with a shudder. Oh, I'm sorry. What's your quirk? At this, Izuku holds nothing but curiosity behind his eyes. Hitoshi pauses, debating his options. He doesn't seem like the type of person who would be prejudiced, but I don't know. I guess it's better to tell him sooner than later though. I can control people with my mind. Brainwashing. The tall boy looks to the ground, fiddling with his hands, awaiting the backlash from his words. But it doesn't come. Instead, Aizu stops walking, eyes wide with awe. Really? That's so awesome. Is there something needed to happen to activate it? Hitoshi gives the boy a puzzled look. Awesome? Yeah, I need to get a verbal response, then I can control them with verbal commands. Whoa! That's such a cool quirk. You could be an amazing hero with that. You could stop fights before they even begin, or calm down victims. It's the perfect quirk to de-escalate situations, 'cause you just need a few words. You're going to be an amazing hero with that. Aizu rambles on, looking like he has stars in his eyes. Hitoshi, on the other hand, has tears in his. Nobody has ever immediately believed him not to be villainous when he told them his quirk, with the exception of his current parents. But Aizu thinks I can be a hero. Before the tears can spill out, Hitoshi pushes the boy's scarred face away from his, cutting off the excited rambling. Okay, shut up, Freckles. Let's just continue running. Izuku looks disappointed for a moment, but then shrugs and begins to jog. As Hitoshi watches the short boy in front of him, he realizes Aizu is still limping. His eyes are drawn downward, landing on the boy's leg. A large, dark burn scar lays there, covering over half of his calf. It looks healed but still new, the scar still a dark pink color. Hitoshi can feel his chest filling with worry. Hey, Aizu, the scarred face turns toward him slightly, a small smile on his lips as he continues jogging. What happened to your leg? Instantly, the smile is gone and the tenseness back in Izuku's shoulders. Instead of responding, he picks up the pace, turning the light jog into an intense run. He knows Hitoshi can't keep up, and Hitoshi knows that too. So he glares at Izuku's back as he slowly gets further away. Someday he's going to have to open up and actually allow people to help him, he thinks with gritted teeth. But until then, I'll be here and support him along the way if that's how to get him through it alive. They run the rest of the way in silence. Izuku doesn't know what he did to make Endeavor hate him so much. Well, except for that time he kicked him in the face. And when he spat on him. And perhaps the fact that he called him a fake hero with an overinflated ego. But besides those minor incidents, the Vigilante is confused about what the source of the number 2 hero's anger is. After an intense pursuit that lasts nearly an hour as he narrowly dodged Endeavor's attacks, Izuku finds himself cornered in a dead end. Endeavor closes in, his face contorted with rage. Flames burst forth as the hero steps closer, and Izuku twists to shield his body, but the flames end up scorching his side. Izuku hisses in pain, jerking away from the fire as he instinctively grabs a knife from his side and hurls it carelessly at the approaching hero. The blade flies through the air, slicing Endeavor's cheek and drawing blood. Taken aback by the surprise attack, the hero hesitates. But Izuku does not. Seizing the opportunity, he swiftly climbs onto a nearby building, sliding down its roof. Before Endeavor can give chase, he clumsily lands on the ground and disappears into the sewage vents. The young vigilante navigates through the ducts quickly, using them as an escape route like he has done countless times in the past to evade muggers and creepy old men. As B emerges from the vents, he gasps in pain as the effort puts strain on his fresh burn. He drags himself to the nearest wall and props himself up between 2 trash cans. His hand trembles around a knife as he attempts to calm his breathing. I can't make it home. I need to stop the burning. As he slits his wrists and waits for the dizziness to overtake him, Izuku can't help his thoughts from drifting to the painful memories of Bakugo's explosions. Shoyuta arrives at the station early in the morning, only to be met with an angry, flaming man. He had wanted to check with Tsukachi on how Nightfall had been doing, but instead, he instantly gets an earful of Endeavor's enraged outburst. He tried to kill me. It wasn't an accident. He aimed the knife right at my face. Shoyuta scoffs at this statement, knowing well that if Nightfall wanted to kill him, the hero would be severely injured right now. Just throwing a knife was most likely a distraction, not an attempt to actually inflict harm. Endeavor continues to vent his anger, yelling about disrespect, and how the vigilante called him a tyrant and an egoistic narcissist, along with many other, much worse names. Shoyuta, personally, finds it hilarious. He has to bite back the laugh that threatens to escape as Endeavor yells. The next words that come from his mouth, however, Shoyuta finds much more concerning. He has a quirk, I know it. He lied in the interrogation. He has to have a healing quirk, Endeavor growls, jabbing a finger in Tsukachi's face. The detective's expression stays even. And why do you think that, Endeavor? I can assure you that he didn't lie, unless you are accusing me of being untruthful? The hero's scowl only deepens. No, he must have bypassed it somehow, that slimy bastard. He takes a step back, glaring down at the detective. I burned his leg on patrol 2 nights ago, attempting to slow him down, but last night he didn't even limp when I was chasing him. A cold, tense silence fills the room, but Endeavor doesn't notice. He isn't fireproof. When he was hit today, I could see the burn already forming on his back and side. Before he can continue, Shoyuta shoves past the so-called hero. Put me back on the case. His voice is eerily calm, despite the anger dancing in his dark eyes. Tsukachi stares at him for a moment, before nodding and beginning to type on his computer. Shoyuta turns to leave but pauses in front of Endeavor. If you ever lay your hands on that child again, he growls, emphasizing the word child, I can guarantee that you will never become the #1 hero. You will not walk away unharmed, Endeavor. And with that, Shoyuta storms out of the station, leaving a stunned and terrified hero behind. As he walks, attempting to cool down his rage, Shuta's mind is consumed by thoughts of nightfall. Anytime he was injured on patrol, he never seemed affected the day after. He always comes right back the next day, full strength. Despite all his scars, Shoyuta has never seen the kid with an actual wound unless he also witnessed the attack. Maybe he has access to a healer? I know he mentioned that one of his friends only knows him as Nightfall. Maybe he has a healing quirk? Izuku groans as he awakens, his back aching as it presses against the hard wall behind him. Taking in his surroundings, he realizes he's sitting in a dimly lit back alley, wedged between 2 trash cans. I didn't go home last night. Attempting to rise, Izuku winces. The ache in his side still lingers, a gentle burn accompanying his every movement. He attempts to take a step forward, but his legs give way and he collapses onto the ground. He's alone, hungry, and disoriented. Izuku doesn't know what to do. All he knows is that he's far away from home and very unable to walk there himself. The realization dawns on him about what to do, and he deeply does not want to do it. But he needs help. With a heavy sigh, Izuku retrieves his phone. I can't text Shinso, I'm still in my Vigilante gear. I could text Eraserhead, or maybe Bakugo. Yeah, I can do that. You? Hey, are you free RN? The response comes instantly. Bakugo, WTF do you want rat? Bakugo, you still need to explain those previous messages. You, I will, but can you come get me? You, I can't walk. Bakugo, no fuck you. Bakugo, send UR location bitch. Izuku smiles faintly as he sends his location before setting down the phone. I think I just need a little nap. When Izuku wakes this time, he opens his eyes to see a terrified Bakugo leaning over him, shaking him awake. I'm up. You can stop shaking me now, he says groggily. Bakugo's initial expression of terror morphs into anger. You fucking asshole, why the fuck would you stay out here? You smell like shit, he scolds, though he can't stop the concern that creeps into his voice. Oh, yeah, I died last night, Izuku casually replies, causing the blonde's anger to spike further. What the fuck? What happened? He demands. Doesn't matter. Help me stand up, I'm hungry. With a growl, Bakugo pulls the injured boys to his feet, supporting his weight by looping an arm around his back and sliding Izuku's arm over his shoulders. Fuck you. After coming out here, I think I deserve to know what happened. No, you don't. Just take me home. At this, Bakugo stops walking, glaring at the Vigilante. Know what happened? I'm not taking you anywhere until you tell me. Izuku grits his teeth, but after debating in his head, he lets out a defeated sigh, knowing he can't walk on his own. Fine, fucking asshole. He relents, guiding Bakugo toward his house. The hero I usually encounter on patrol wasn't there the past 2 nights. Instead, they put a new one in his place. He's a lot more aggressive. That's one word for it. And? He killed you? No, of course not. He attacked me though, fucking Endeavor. Endeavor? You met the #2 hero? And he attacked you? Bakugo asks, unable to hide the awe and shock in his voice. Is that how you died? Izuku hesitates, contemplating whether to tell the truth. No, he caused these burns on my side though. He turns his body to show the other boy the injuries, causing the blonde's face to pale. And I can't stand the feeling of burns, so I killed Mijal fine an alleyway escapathy pain. Izuku blurts out, speaking the last part as fast as he can, hoping Bakugo wouldn't catch it. You killed yourself? Bakugo stares at him in disbelief and anger. You fucking idiot. Izuku waits for him to continue, but he doesn't. Instead he lets the words hang in the air, scowling deeply. I just hope I don't have to see Endeavor again. Izuku attempts to shift the conversation. Really? You used dash. Bakugo instantly cuts himself off, regrouping his thoughts before speaking again. You don't like heroes? Izuku gives the boy a puzzled look. No, I like heroes, but some are fake or just assholes. I don't like the assholes. Yeah, Bakugo snorts a laugh. Endeavor will never be as cool as All Might. At the name, Izuku tenses, causing the blonde to glance at him curiously. He scowls. I fucking hate All Might the most. Bakugo's face fills with confusion. He opens his mouth to speak, but Izuku spots a familiar building and interrupts before the other can get the words out. Hey, I'm hungry. Can we stop by that cafe? Bakugo stares at him for another few moments before turning to where Izuku is pointing. With a sigh he begrudgingly agrees, fine. They give me free food all the time, so it shouldn't take long. Bakugo sighs again, rolling his eyes. You can barely stand by yourself, rat. Stay here, I'll go get the food. Tell them Kobayashi sent you. Izuku calls after the blonde, struggling to maintain his balance. Bakugo shoots him a confused glance before entering the store. After a few minutes, he emerges with 2 boxes of food. Scowling, he shoves a box into Izuku's hands. You're welcome. And I don't know what you were talking about, but the food here isn't free, idiot. Izuku just stares at him, baffled. What? Are you sure? Bakugo rolls his eyes. No, I just gave them 3,000 yen for no reason. Yes, I'm fucking sure, he says, watching as Izuku rummages through his pockets. And no, I don't want your fucking money. Izuku just glares, forcefully shoving a wad of cash into Bakugo's hands, before stomping toward the building. Wait here. And turn around. I'm taking off my mask. Izuku yanks off his hood and unzips the mask, pushing open the front door with a surge of anger. His unstable legs struggle to keep him upright as he storms to the back of the store, paying no mind to the fact that he's not allowed there. Spotting present Mike in a small office at the rear, Izuku confronts the man. You fucking lied to me, Izuku spits out. Mick's eyes widen, taking in the kid's appearance. Kobayashi? You're covered in blood. Don't change the subject, he seethes. You told me the food here was free, but that was a fucking lie. I'm not a goddamn charity case. I can pay for my own fucking meals. The blonde's expression softens, concern still etched across his face. I didn't mean to make you think I lied, green bean. I just thought you could use the food and the comfort of cats. I didn't realize it meant so much to you. I'm truly sorry. Some of Izuku's anger dissipates at the sincerity of Mick's words, but unsure of how to respond, he simply turns around and leaves the store. Bakugo waits outside, but as the door swings open, the blonde averts his gaze and Izuku hurriedly pulls his hood and mask back up, hoping the other didn't see his face. We're leaving, Bakugo. Now, staring at the retreating Vigilante, Bakugo stands there, baffled. The fuck? Don't tell me what to do, fucking rat. Nevertheless, he quickly follows Izuku, grabbing the food the other left behind. That blonde guy who gave me the food seemed to know you well. I don't see the problem. Since he's the owner of the cafe, he can give you free food if he wants to, Bakugo remarks offhandedly. The owner? Izuku makes a mental note. Shoyuta spots Nightfall perched on a rooftop near the end of his patrol and silently makes his way over to the boy, taking a seat near him. He keeps his gaze fixed on the stars, like usual, so Shoyuta has to initiate the conversation. Hey kid, I wanted to apologize to you, he begins. Nightfall glances at the hero momentarily before returning his gaze to the sky. I'm sorry I let Endeavor hurt you and that I left my patrol in the first place. I won't do that again. His voice comes out remorseful, but Shoyuta quickly drains it of emotion. Finally, the kid speaks, his tone guarded. It doesn't matter. I can protect myself. Shoyuta frowns. Where had this deep-seated distrust of adults come from? Still, I'm sorry. Guilt tugs at his chest as he notices the burn scar on the boy's exposed torso. Wait, scar? That happened a few days ago. It couldn't have scared so quickly. He must have a healer close by then. As they sit in silence, Shoyuta carefully observes Nightfall's injuries more. The prominent burn scar on his side trails to his back and under his shirt. It looks fresh, likely causing him pain still. As the hero continues to observe the vigilante's wounds, he notices the burn scars on his shoulders. Those burns on your shoulders, they're not from Endeavor, are they? Shoyuta knows they're not, but he hopes the kid will shed more light on the matter if he asks. Nightfall shakes his head. No, those are from, he pauses as if deliberately choosing the right words. They're from the past. The reason I hate burns. A wave of sadness washes over Shoyuta as he mourns the child before him. They continue their small talk for a while longer, but Nightfall remains evasive, refusing to delve deeper into any topic. He absent-mindedly fiddles with the bag at his side before standing abruptly. I've got to get home, so, goodbye. And thank you. He pauses, averting his gaze as if embarrassed to show vulnerability. Thank you for checking on me. Verde, you're back. The bouncer greets the weary boy with a cheerful smile. Izuku offers a half-hearted one in return. Yeah, probably won't fight today though. The bouncer nods understandingly as he opens the door for Izuku to pass through. After his encounter with Eraserhead, the vigilante realized he's running low on his trusted gadgets. He stopped by his house to grab the jars of blood he'd been collecting before heading to the market. He stops by the blood trader's stall first, setting down his jars on the counter with a thud. The merchant grins widely at him. The people have been loving the blood you bring. It must come from someone with a powerful quirk. Izuku stares at the man for a moment before lowering his head down and retrieving his money. He visits a few more booths on the first level, before moving to the one above. He stops in front of a particular stall, the woman running it staring intensely at him, as if attempting to draw him in. Izuku approaches the booth and observes the array of potions on display. His eyes are drawn to a glowing blue vial with a label that reads, Memory Revival. How do these work? He asks, motioning toward the potion. The woman smiles. You can take one to regain any memories lost within the last 3 months. Take more for a memories further back, though occasionally a single drink will bring back recollections from long ago. Just remember to never consume more than 3 within a 24 hours period. Izuku's thoughts turn to his limited funds, having spent most of it on other supplies and gadgets. And what form of payment do you take? What form do you have? Do you take blood as a payment? The woman eyes him suspiciously. I only accept fresh blood and human parts. Wherever you got the blood, it wouldn't be fresh enough for. I've seen you wandering around for over an hour now. Izuku just rolls his eyes. Do you have a bowl? She nods skeptically, retrieving one from inside her booth and placing it on the table. Izuku flashes a fake smile. Good. I'll get you the freshest blood you've had in a while. Without hesitation, he grabs a knife from his side and slices his wrist, dragging the blade horizontally across the veins. The merchant's eyes widen at the sight, but she remains silent. Izuku makes another cut and the bowl quickly fills, nearly spilling over. Okay, that's enough. I don't need any more, the woman finally speaks up, her voice tinged with worry. He smiles to himself, swiftly bandaging his wrists as she pushes a few small vials forward. That will pay for 5. I'd love to have you return if you like how they work. Izuku nods, pocketing the glowing bottles. Back at home, Izuku sits on his bed and uncorks one of the vials, the liquid inside emitting a soft glow. He hesitates for a moment, unsure if he should drink it. What if it's poison? Or maybe some type of curse? Ultimately, he concludes that it wouldn't matter either way. So in one swift motion, Izuku throws his head back and drowns the potion. Instantly, darkness fills his senses. Izuku lies bundled up in his All Might covers, attempting to sleep, but worry gnaws at his chest. His mom had informed him that she would be going on vacation starting tomorrow, leaving Izuku uncertain about how he will manage on his own. Not wanting to think about it, he squeezes his eyes shut, desperately trying to push the thoughts away. His door creaks open, casting a sliver of light across his small body. Izuku stays still, trying to even out his breathing. If she's drunk, I need to pretend to be asleep. But it's not the usual drunken state that she enters with. Instead, she kneels beside the sleeping child, leaning her arms on the edge of the bed. "I'm so sorry, Izuku," she whispers, her voice watery and filled with emotion he hasn't heard from her in years. "I'm so sorry." Izuku fights the urge to open his eyes and offer comfort, but she would probably be upset if she discovered he was awake at this late hour. So, he keeps his eyes closed and listens in silence as she cries and pleads with his sleeping form to forgive her. Izuku experiences fleeting flashes of other memories, though none as vivid or prolonged as the initial one. He sees himself falling through the sky, the buildings growing taller above him as he plummets. He sees the cold, hard metal of a gun, pushing against his temple, while dead by a terrified villain. He sees blood, so much blood, pooling all around him. He sees fists, pummeling his face relentlessly. But then, Izuku sees something he didn't expect. He sees Bakugo, reaching out to him, his eyes wide with panic and fear. He watches as the blonde pulls him back onto the rooftop, gently laying him down. And then he hears the screams. Bakugo screams his name over and over again. He yells at himself, at the world, even at Izuku. All the dying boy can do is watch through half-lidded eyes. And then that memory fades, replaced with another. Izuku slowly rises from the bed, his head throbbing. He had witnessed his own death for nearly 4 straight hours. I suppose dying almost every day for the past 3.5 months would do that. The woman at the booth had mentioned the possibility of regaining memories from further back than 3 months, but he hadn't expected it to be from when he was 8 years old. The day after his mother's tearful apology, she left on vacation and never returned. As the memories of Bakugo's anguished screams fill his mind, Izuku's eyes widen in horror. But he knows. What do I do? He decides to go for a walk, hoping fresh air will help soothe his throbbing headache. As he strolls through the streets, he thinks back to his childhood. Bakugo used to sneak into his room at night when they were 5 years old. Climbing through the unlocked window, he would kick Izuku awake, urging him to grab flashlights and comics. The two would hide under the covers, reading stories about heroes and All Might until they eventually fell asleep. Izuku recalls the first time Bakugo used his quirk on him. At the age of 6, he followed the blonde boy into the forest. Bakugo had yelled at him to go home, but Izuku didn't think it was safe for the young boy to be alone, so he refused. That's when Bakugo shoved him, triggering a series of explosions from his palms. Izuku had started crying, and Bakugo looked surprised, but he never apologized. He simply left the sobbing boy behind. Izuku's thoughts drift to his last day of school, Bakugo burning him and saying those cursed words. Take a swan dive off the roof. That had marked the end of their supposed friendship. But now, Bakugo knew who he was. Yet Izuku hadn't seen or heard any explosions from the boy since school. Bakugo hadn't bullied him, he didn't taunt him or push him around. But he knew that Nightfall was Izuku. Maybe their relationship could be mended after all. He needs to talk to Bakugo. You? Hey, can you come meet me? I want to talk, I'm not dead or anything. Bakugo, send the location fucker. Izuku sits on an empty swing set. It's late at night, so the playground is empty. He waits, contemplating what to say when the other arrives. Once he spots the blonde figure in the distance, he waves Bakugo over and motions for him to take a seat on the adjacent swing. Before Bakugo can ask, Izuku speaks up. I got my memories back. All of them. I heard what you said. Seeing as Izuku isn't in his vigilante gear, wearing no mask or hood, Bakugo likely assumed that something of the sort happened. He nods, looking down. I knew it. How long have you known it was me? Izuku asks, his gaze fixed on Bakugo's face. The blonde meets his eyes, searching for something. I had my suspicions since the first few encounters. When Izuku doesn't say anything, Bakugo continues. I have so much I need to say to you. I should have never treated you the way I did. I shouldn't have done the things I had done or said the things I said. I'm sorry, Izuku. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted to apologize anyways. Tears well up in Bakugo's eyes, and he blinks angrily, trying to get rid of them. Izuku has his own tears to worry about. I forgave you a long time ago, Bakugo. The blonde jerks his head up, finally allowing the tears to escape. He stares for a moment in silence. Katsuki. Call me Katsuki. Izuku gives him a watery smile, nodding. Okay, Katsuki. It's quiet for a moment, then the green-haired boy speaks again. I didn't expect to forgive you, but after hearing everything you said, after seeing how you've changed, it wasn't a hard decision. He stands, stepping closer to the teary-eyed blonde. Izuku wraps his arms around Katsuki, who tenses under his touch. After a beat of silence, he relaxes, bringing his arms around Izuku's shoulders. They remain that way for a moment, shedding silent tears in their tight embrace. Bakugo is the one to break it. That's enough, nerd. He pulls away, looking down at the other's misty, green eyes. We're never speaking of this again, got that? Izuku chokes out a wet laugh, nodding. They fall into a comfortable silence, both minds racing with their own thoughts. You should come to UA with me, Bakugo suggests suddenly, glancing at Izuku, who gapes back. But I'm quirkless. No, you're not, dumb. Oh yeah, true. But this isn't a quirk that's supposed to exist, and I fight quirkless anyways. Besides, on my file it states that I'm definitely quirkless. He rambles on. Oi, shut up. You're fine. You can fight just fine anyways. Besides, if you don't fucking die in front of them or use it in combat, do you really have to tell anyone? Izuku's eyes bulge out of his skull. You want me to lie? Bakugo just scoffs. You're literally a criminal and you're fussing over a small lie. I'm not a criminal, I'm a vigilante, he counters. Yeah, which is illegal, fuckwad. Izuku stares at him before feigning to laugh. Okay, fine, let's say I can pass the entrance exam without a quirk, then get in with the lie. I don't even know when anything is or what to study. I'm planning on going to UA too, so I can obviously help, idiot. Bakugo begins to sway slightly on the swing. The entrance exams start at the end of next week. I bet Auntie Inko will be overjoyed to have you going to that high school. At this, Izuku flinches, earning a confused look from Bakugo. He quickly changes the subject. You know, I have another friend who's also trying to get into U.A-. You have friends? Bakugo mocks. Shut up, asshole. I have two. Well, that's assuming I can count you as a friend. Izuku phrases it as a question, hoping the other will catch on and respond. He just raises an eyebrow. Tell me about the other friend. Other. His name's Hitoshi, well, Shinso to you. He has a super cool quirk but has faced a lot of backlash because of it. He doesn't know I'm Nightfall, but he's super cool. I think you guys would get along. And get this. One of his dads is Eraserhead. Bakugo looks at him in confusion. Eraserhead? Yeah. He's my favorite hero ever. He fights quirkless since his quirk is erasure. He can erase people's quirks just by looking at them, it's super cool. He's an underground hero, so I've met him a bunch of times. He's not as cold as he wants people to think, either. He's helped me a lot and is always super caring. He gives off dad vibes, to be honest. As Izuku rambles on, Bakugo listens, trying to act uninterested. However, the glint in his eye gives away his interest at the green-haired boy's words. Some things never change. I told my friend about you. Eraserhead glances at him, intrigued. Which friend? The one I used to know. It turns out he knew it was me all along, so I was able to meet up with him without my Nightfall disguise. Izuku replies, a warm smile gracing his face. Eraserhead simply nods. You look happy, kid. I'm glad. He stands, changing the topic. I have to break up a drug trade on the east side tonight, so you'll be alone. Will you be okay? Izuku rolls his eyes playfully. Of course I will, old man. I don't need you watching over me 24/7. For the last time, I'm not old, the hero scowls. Izuku shrugs with a smug smile. Whatever you say, old man. Before Eraserhead can yell at him, Izuku steps off the roof, gracefully swinging to the ground. He skips happily along the road, only returning to the rooftops when he's certain he's left Eraser's line of sight. As he walks through the night, humming to himself, he encounters only a few minor criminals. The last encounter, however, surprises Izuku. He spots a familiar head of purple hair slowly walking the moonlit streets, headphones on, oblivious to his surroundings. Izuku decides to follow him, ensuring he gets home safely. But before Hitoshi can reach the street his apartment is on, a man jumps out from an alleyway brandishing a knife. Izuku quickly jumps from the roof, planning to intervene, but Hitoshi beats him to it. As the man grabs his arm, Hitoshi startles, dropping his phone. The screen cracks upon impact, and Hitoshi throws a punch. It connects with the mugger's jaw, causing him to stumble back. Izuku can't help but feel proud of the tired boy. Without hesitation, he rushes forward, delivering a powerful kick to the criminal's stomach. As he's thrown back, the vigilante quickly advances. The man stands, regaining his balance as he holds the knife out threateningly. Izuku dodges the slashes, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He lands a solid punch to the man's face, snapping his head back. The criminal growls before lunging forward, knife slashing through the air. Izuku doesn't dodge the attack, allowing the man to get closer so he can land the finishing blow. The blade cuts across his cheek, blood soaking through his mask, but Izuku remains focused. He extends his staff, and the man is thrown back by the impact, hitting the ground hard. Izuku rushes over to him and binds his wrists before he can recover. He pulls out his phone, and with a few quick taps, sends the location to the police. Thanks to his earlier hacking into the police station's databases, Izuku now has access to various phone numbers, including the police officers and detectives. And so, he easily found the number of the detective who had interrogated him, the one with the lie-detecting quirk. When Izuku had first contacted the detective's number a few days ago, the man had been extremely taken aback and highly concerned. But now, he didn't even question it, just accepted the vigilante's texts and sent police to his locations. Izuku also managed to obtain the numbers of many top heroes, using the information to send Endeavor numerous offensive and insulting texts. The memory brings a mischievous smile to Izuku's face, but his attention is pulled back to the present by a voice behind him. "Thank you for the help. You're Nightfall, right?" Izuku nods, not trusting the mask to completely disguise his voice. "Is your face okay? That looks like a bad cut," Hitoshi remarks, concern showing more in his eyes than his voice. Izuku nods again, listening to the distant wails of police sirens. Offering one last nod of farewell to Hitoshi, he ascends to a nearby roof and disappears into the night. Izuku wakes up outside his house, observing the rubble and dirt that he lies on. "Oh yeah, I died right before making it inside." He grimaces at the memory of the woman who killed him. Her quirk allowed her to create and control poisonous arrows, and she had struck Izuku 3 times before he was able to detain her. Grumbling, he checks his phone. "Shit. It's almost time for me to meet up with Shinso." The freckled boy dashes inside, throwing on the first clean clothes he can find, before running to the beach. Arriving slightly out of breath, Izuku lands on the ground in front of a disinterested-looking Hitoshi, who raises an eyebrow. "You're late, by the way." I know, Izuku grumbles, sitting up and dusting the sand off him. "Oh, I decided to try and get into you." This gets his attention. "Really? What changed your mind?" "One of my friends convinced me. He said since he wants to get in too, then I should give it a shot." "That's what I said too." Izuku laughs at Hitoshi's offended tone. "I know, but I've known Katsuki since childhood, so he reminded me of a promise we made to be heroes together when we were young." Hitoshi nods. "We should all meet up and study together. The entrance exams are coming up soon." As much as Izuku wants his friends to get along, the thought scares him a bit. Katsuki's, well, he's a lot, to say the least. Hitoshi just gives him a questioning look and Izuku sighs. "He's kind of an asshole." Hitoshi laughs. "Me too, it's okay." "No, but he's on a whole different level," Izuku insists. The tired boy just shrugs, giving Izuku a lazy smile. Then, his eyebrows furrow and he squints his eyes. "Hey, where'd you get that scar?" Izuku instinctively covers his cheek with his hand, hiding the fresh scar he received while saving Hiroshi the night before. I don't know. I think I got it when I was younger," he lies. "No, I've never seen it before dash." Izuku cuts him off with a glare, dropping his act of confusion. Hitoshi just huffs a sigh. Okay, whatever. Give me Katsuki's number. Or create a group chat or something. Izuku smiles as he grabs his phone. This is going to be interesting. Fucking group chat. Green Bean has added Explosion Murder God to the group chat. Green Bean has added Insomniac to the group chat. Green Bean, hey. Hitoshi said we should all hang out and study for the entrance exam together, smiley face. Explosion Murder God changed their name to Great Explosion Murder God. Great Explosion Murder God. Why TF would I want to spend more time with you? Great Explosion Murder God. I don't need to study, anyways. I'm gonna ace the test. Insomniac. I see what you mean, Aizu. Green Bean. Ameo told you. Great Explosion Murder God. TF? Great Explosion Murder God changed the chat name to fucking group chat. Green Bean. I know a cute cat cafe near my house. How does Sunday work to meet up? Insomniac. Sure, I can be there around 12. Green Bean. That works for. Great Explosion Murder God. Fuck you both. Great Explosion Murder God. Are you gonna send the address or not? Fucking idiot. Green Bean. Map.jpg. Great Explosion Murder God. Middle finger. Green Bean. Smiley face. Insomniac. WTF, you guys are weird ASF. Green Bean. The first thing Hizashi notices is the yelling. He watches from the back of the cat cafe as an angry blonde storms through the front door, neglecting to hold it for those who follow behind him. The owner recognizes the boy from a few days ago when he requested free food. He had paid without issue after being informed that the meals came at a cost, leaving with a scowl and 2 boxed meals. The second person enters through the door, taller than the first, and holds the door open with a bored expression. This person, Hizashi also recognizes, mainly because it's his son. Feeling perplexed, Hizashi wonders if the angry blonde is the Aizu that his son often talks about. That's when a third individual enters the store. Kobayashi followed behind Hitoshi, wearing a guilty expression. He is dressed in regular clothes with no signs of blood on him, thank goodness. Hizashi hears his son offering to pay, before walking to the back. Once out of sight of the other 2 boys, Hitoshi looks at his father with excitement shining in his eyes. I'm so glad you're working today. That's the guy I've been telling you about, Aizu. And the blonde one is his childhood friend, Hitoshi explains, speaking fast. Hizashi can only stare. Aizu? Well, Izuku is his full name, but yeah, he's the friend I mentioned. Hizashi gapes at his son before bursting into laughter, earning a perplexed glance from the purple-haired boy. I can't believe it. This is such a big coincidence. What? Aizu, your friend, is also the kiddo who's been coming here and getting free meals from me for the past months. Except, get this, he told me his name was Kobayashi. Hitoshi's mouth curves into a large grin. He told me a fake name at first too, actually. It's kind of funny when you think about it. Hizashi just smiles, grateful that his son had made such a good friend. Just as Hitoshi is about to return to the front, Kobayashi no, Izuku, approaches the blonde owner sheepishly. His son returns to the front, offering the nervous boy a lazy smile as he passes. Izuku stands in front of Hizashi, staring at the ground and fiddling with his hands. I'm sorry for how rude I was last time. I shouldn't have done that. He takes out a wad of cash from his pocket and holds it out to the hero. Here, take this. I know it won't be enough to cover the amount of meals and time I've been here, but… No, kiddo, Hizashi interrupts. I'm not going to take your money. I gave you the food because I wanted to, so I don't need you to pay me back. The green bean stares at him with worried eyes. But I have to pay you back, he frets. How about this? I'll take 1,500 yen for the meal today, but that's it. You have to keep the rest. After a moment of hesitation, Izuku nods. He hands the hero the money and with one last bow and apology, returns to his friends. As Hitoshi waits for Aizu to return, he observes the boy sitting across from him. Katsuki returns his stare, seemingly trying to size him up. The blonde scowls at him. Your name is Katsuki, right? Hitoshi attempts, but the other stays silent, diverting his attention to the cats surrounding him. Finally, Izuku returns, balancing plates of food in his hands. Here we go. This place has the best food ever. Katsuki fiddles with something in his ear as Aizu talks. He glares at the freckled boy. Huh? What did you say? Izuku just sighs, seemingly used to this behavior. Cat, you can't just turn off your hearing aids when you don't want to talk to people? Ignoring the blonde's scowl, he turns to Hitoshi. I'm sorry if he was being rude. I'd like to say he's easier to be around as you get to know him, but I think it's more accurate to say that I've just grown used to him. Hitoshi snorts a laugh as Katsuki's head whips toward Izuku. The fuck did you just say, shitty rat? Izuku ignores him. I got some textbooks from the library that should help with the exam. Afterward, we should train together. He turns to Hitoshi again. Have you practiced your mind control on people before? I'd be happy to help if I can. Hitoshi pauses. Would he really want to be brainwashed in order to help me? No, I haven't practiced it much, but... Shut up, you fucking extras. We came here to study, not to talk, Katsuki interrupts loudly. Hitoshi rolls his eyes but turns his focus to the work in front of him. God knows he needs all the practice he can get. As he attempts to concentrate, Hitoshi can hear Aizu and Katsuki bickering in the background over a problem. He tries to remember what Pops had told him about the green bean from work, and the more he thinks about it, the more he realizes how many things line up. He also notices that the other two boys are extremely smart. They're already halfway through their subjects while Hitoshi is still just getting started on the first. He attempts to ask Izuku about a problem, but Katsuki disagrees with the answer that the green-haired boy comes up with. With a scowl, the blonde jabs a finger at Izuku. You didn't even fucking graduate middle school, I know what I'm talking about. I actually used my break to study instead of going out and fighting six. He's cut off by a soft thud from under the table. Katsuki winces and returns to his work in silence. You didn't graduate middle school? Hitoshi gives Aizu a puzzled look, but the green-haired boy refuses to meet his gaze. Hitoshi just sighs and goes back to his work. Izuku watches as Hitoshi and Katsuki spar. They fight quirkless, so Izuku requested to battle the winner. So far, Hitoshi managed to capture Katsuki in the first round, using the scarf he got from his dad, while Katsuki pinned him in the second round. Izuku observes as Hitoshi lands a kick to Katsuki's side, resulting in a soft thud. The blonde winces but retaliates by grabbing his foot and yanking the purple-haired boy forward. Hitoshi stumbles, and Katsuki yanks him forward again, causing him to land on his hands and knees. In a swift motion, the blonde grabs an arm and twists it behind the other's back, eliciting a cry of pain. Okay, I'm out. You can let go now. Katsuki does, releasing him and taking a step back with a ruthless grin adorning his face. Izuku steps forward, smirking. Okay, Kats, can I fight you now? Katsuki's grin falls from his face as the freckled boy steps into the makeshift ring. Katsuki doesn't want to fight Izuku. After fighting him for years, bullying him relentlessly, he doesn't want to inflict any more pain. Hesitating to step into the circle on the ground, a look of realization comes over the other's scarred face. Izuku offers a reassuring smile. You won't be able to hurt me, don't worry. At this, Katsuki tenses. Is he underestimating me? Mindfuck watches, puzzled, from the sidelines as Katsuki finally steps into the ring. As the fight commences, Katsuki finds himself being thrown backward instantly. He barely registered Izuku's movements before a kick landed squarely in his chest, propelling him out of the ring. Round 1 goes to Aizu, eyebags drawls, sounding smug. Izuku offers him a hand, but Katsuki slaps it away. He returns to the circle, preparing for the next attack. This time, the green-haired boy doesn't come at him with a kick. Instead, he throws jabs at Katsuki, striking him repeatedly. The blonde struggles to think amid the flurry of action, but he manages to swing his fist, connecting with Izuku's jaw. Katsuki's eyes widen. Oh shit, did I hurt him? But Izuku doesn't so much as wince. Instead, he smiles, the fucking psychopath. Izuku retaliates the punch, hitting Katsuki's face so hard that he instantly tastes blood. Before he knows it, he's on the ground with Izuku's knee pressing into his ribs and a forearm against his throat. Round 2 goes to Aizu. Again, Katsuki growls, growing increasingly annoyed. He refuses to let that fucking pest beat him at this. But before he can even react, Izuku is already behind him. A swift kick to his leg causes Katsuki to stumble forward, landing harshly on his knees. Izuku wraps his arm around Katsuki's throat, and despite his struggles, the blonde can't break free. And just like that, the match is over. Round 3 goes to Izuku. No surprise there. Katsuki glares at Mindfuck as he grins lazily back. Katsuki stands, unleashing a string of curses while Hitoshi laughs. Told you couldn't hurt me. Shut the fuck up, you fucking rat. I'll beat your ass next time. Izuku does not cower in fear. He does not flinch at the words or duck down in fear of being hit. Oh, he smirks. Sure you will. The next week and a half passes by in a blur. Izuku spends ample time sparring with his 2 friends, immersing himself in his studies as much as can. Surprisingly, Katsuki and Hitoshi get along well, Hitoshi letting the insults and attacks slide off him, unaffected. The only hiccups occur when Katsuki occasionally lets slip something that Hitoshi shouldn't know. He'll mention dying or fighting or patrol and Izuku will try and play them off as a joke, but the insomniac isn't dumb. Izuku can sense his growing suspicious, but by now, Hitoshi has learned not to push for answers. During the week, Izuku continues his nightly patrols, meeting with Eraserhead almost every time. The hero notices Izuku's elevated mood and carefree demeanor, to which Izuku simply smiles. He truly is happier than ever, and his fighting skills have improved as well with him constantly winning battles with minimal injuries. With all the good that surrounds him, Izuku can only bring himself to kill himself twice over the week, once after a particularly grueling patrol and the other on the eve of the entrance exams. When he wakes up, Izuku can't help the bright smile that spreads across his face. Today is the day. As Izuku walks up to the grand entrance of UA, he can't help but feel awestruck by the sheer size of the school. There's so many people here. I can't find Katsuki or Hitoshi anywhere. As he scans the area, searching for a familiar face, Izuku ends up colliding with someone in front of him. Rubbing his nose, he begins to apologize, only to realize that he's floating a few feet in the air. His eyes go wide and the girl he ran into touches her fingers together. I'm so sorry. I must have activated my quirk by accident. Descending rapidly toward the ground, Izuku lands on his feet with ease. It's alright, no harm done. He reassures her with a warm smile. Her gaze shifts to his face, and her eyes widen. Swiftly pushing down the fear that flashes in her eyes, the girl smiles back. Good luck on the exam. Let's do our best. He nods appreciatively and she walks off. She has a gravity-based quirk, it seems to be activated through touch. Entering the expansive school, Izuku quickly spots Hitoshi's distinctive lilac hair and takes a seat next to him. The boys listen attentively as Present Mike explains the exam, detailing the robots and the various ways to earn points. Although Izuku is excited that Mike is a teacher here, he can't help but feel a bit wary due to their previous interactions. Izuku and Hitoshi part ways, both going to different testing grounds, after mixed speech. The green-haired boy stands alone in the crowd of people, not sure what to do. He spots the girl he encountered earlier and contemplates whether he should approach her. Before he can make a move, however, a heavy hand lands on his shoulder. She seems to be concentrating. Are you here to sabotage people's chances at getting in? Is this all a game to you? Izuku stares up at the tall, boxy, blue-haired boy who pushes his glasses back as he speaks. Luckily, Mick's voice echoes through a radio and so Izuku brushes off the boy's hand without responding. Alrighty listeners. Remember your training and do your best. The test will start in 3, 2, begin. Immediately, Izuku dashes forward and makes his way to the nearest rooftop. Though he managed to keep his staff and dulled knives, his other gadgets were prohibited in this exam. I need to figure out a plan if I want to make it out with enough points. The Vigilante traverses the grounds, swiftly taking down multiple robots as he goes. He throws knives at their targets or gets up close enough to combat them with his staff. Observing the other contenders swiftly dispatching the robots, Izuku begins to worry that there might not be enough left for him. 3 minutes left, listeners. Go, go, go. Mick's voice rings out across the testing grounds. In the distance, Izuku spots a colossal robot making its way through the makeshift town, pushing past buildings as it goes. This must be the zero-pointer that Mike mentioned. Everyone's running away from it though. And they were. The kids all fled in the opposite direction, hoping to gain some extra points in the last few moments. Izuku is fully prepared to join the others in retreat, but something catches his eye. Under a fallen slab of concrete, directly in the path of the rampaging robot, the girl from earlier struggles to free her trapped leg. Izuku doesn't think. Without a moment's hesitation, he leaps across buildings, aiming to get as high up as possible. He scales a nearby structure and propels himself toward the robot's head. With all the might he can muster, Izuku swings his staff. The powerful blow resounds with a loud clang, and the robot goes down. At first, Izuku smiles in relief, pleased to have saved the girl. But then he starts to rapidly fall. I didn't plan my way down, fucking idiot. The school won't let me in if I die during the entrance exam. With a sigh, Izuku plummets toward the hard concrete. This feels familiar. Before he can collide with the ground, however, the sudden sensation of a hand striking his face interrupts his descent. Instantly, he finds himself floating in midair. It dawns on Izuku that the girl must have used her gravity quirk on him, if only momentarily. After coming to a stop, he falls the short distance to the ground and the girl promptly throws up. And that concludes the UA entrance exam. If you will make your way out of the testing grounds, you are free to leave. Izuku pushes himself up from the ground and scans the girl for any injuries. Are you all right? She wipes her mouth and looks up at him, panic still evident in her eyes. Am I all right? More like, are you all right? You almost died. Izuku shrugs, helping her to her feet, before swiftly making his way off the grounds, departing before she can ask any more questions. The following days are filled with a mix of excitement and anxiety for the three boys as they discuss the entrance exam and continue their training. But Izuku can't help but worry that he didn't do enough to secure his spot at UA. As a notification from the group chat pings, he decides that it counts as a good distraction from his worrying. Fucking group chat. Insomniac. The results are in. Check your mail. Great explosion murder god. I already knew that I bags. I don't need you to tell me. Green bean. OMG LMK your results. Unfortunately, Izuku had to use his old address on his UA forms, as listing his residence as an abandoned building didn't seem like the best idea. And so he jogs to his former house, retrieves the mail, and makes his way back home. After nearly 30 minutes, he finally has the chance to see if he got accepted. Despite the constant buzzing in his pocket, Izuku refrained from checking the group chat, wanting to see the results with his own eyes first. He rips open the letter and places the enclosed disc on the floor in front of him. As it touches the hard surface, the disc comes to life. A hologram of All Might stands in front of Izuku, who scowls at the sight. I am here. And I have the pleasure of teaching at UA for the next year. Lucky you, the hologram winks. Of fucking course All Might would be here the 1 year I decide to go to UA. You, despite having no quirk, have been accepted into UA. You passed the written exam with flying colors, and for the practical exam, well, let's look at the rankings, shall we? A scoreboard appears, and Izuku's eyes widen as he reads his own name sitting in the second place slot. After a shocked moment of happiness and pride, he searches the hologram for other familiar names, finding Katsuki in first place and Hitoshi in 10th. Once the hologram finishes providing any other information needed about the school year, Izuku rushes to reply to the group chat. Fucking group chat. Great explosion murder god. HA fucking losers I got first place. Insomniac. Yeah whatever. Insomniac. Good job Blasty. Great explosion murder god. TF did you call me? Insomniac. What? You look like a fucking angry Pomeranian LMAO. Great explosion murder god. Don't even you ugly as bastard. Great explosion murder god. You look like you've never seen a hairbrush before and like you haven't slept in years. W those bigas eyebags. Insomniac. Green bean, we got in. I can't believe I got second place OMG. Great explosion murder god. I got first though loser. Green bean. Good job, smiley face. Great Explosion Murder God. Shut up. Great Explosion Murder God. Did you see that All Might is going to be teaching this year? Insomniac. Yeah, that should be super cool. I wonder what he'll teach. At that, Izuku sets his phone down, allowing the other two to nerd out over the heroes while he takes a moment to process his own emotions. Shoyuta is exhausted during his patrol tonight. Well, he's always tired, but tonight, it's even worse. Dealing with a bunch of teenagers for the first time in months and not being able to take a nap all day has drained him. Watching the practical exam was especially draining, to say the least. Nedzu had been commenting on anything that caught his interest, eventually focusing on a random green-haired boy. The principal was always disappointed when students ran away from the zero-pointer robot, wanting them to seize the chance to prove themselves. Yet this year, one student didn't flee. Instead, in a reckless attempt to save another contestant, a small boy threw himself straight at the robot's head, instantly taking it out. Later, Nedzu disclosed to Shoyuta that the kid was quirkless. Shoyuta despised the gleam in the creature's eyes. If that kid got in, the tired hero swore to himself that he would do everything in his power to ensure that Nedzu didn't get his damn paws on him. Drawing him out of his thoughts, Shoyuta receives a text from Tsukachi, informing him of the location of a villain that Nightfall had restrained. Shoyuta sighs. Why are there so many tonight? Making his way to the crime scene, he finds a burly man with a strength quirk. Although Shoyuta is surprised that Nightfall had managed to handle the villain on his own, he keeps his voice void of emotion. You are under arrest for attempted assault and attempted theft. The man simply stares at the hero with wide, fearful eyes. Is he gonna be there? Who? Shoyuta looks at the man, concerned and confused. The cloaked man. I think his name was Nightfall. Is he going to be there? The man's voice trembles slightly as he speaks. Shoyuta squints his eyes. No, as a vigilante, he doesn't work with the police or the heroes. What happened with Nightfall? He was terrifying. The whole time he was fighting with me, he wore this huge smile and was laughing maniacally. The criminal stops to take a shuddering breath before continuing. Even when I would hit him, he just kept laughing as if he couldn't feel pain or something. He's fucking insane. Shoyuta just sighs and pushes the criminal into the police car. That wasn't the first report he's received tonight with similar claims. Many of the criminals, if they were still conscious, had been terrified of what they experienced and claimed that Nightfall was insane. After the sixth report, Shoyuta decided to find this young vigilante and get down to the bottom of this. Finding him is easy. Nightfall sits on the edge of a tall building overlooking the city and swinging his legs carefreely, as if he's not perched on top of a 10-story building. When Shoyuta approaches him, the vigilante turns his gaze away from the sky and greets the hero with a smile. Hey, Eraser, he chirps. Shoyuta nods in greeting as the kid stands up. I've been hearing some interesting things about you tonight, Nightfall. The vigilante gasps in fake shock. Was it so bad that I was demoted from kids to Nightfall? Shoyuta just sighs. No, but you've traumatized the criminals. Nightfall shrugs and begins walking along the ledge, his arms outstretched to maintain balance. He tips toward one side, as if about to fall, and Shuta's heart skips a beat. But then, the kid effortlessly regains his balance and shoots the hero a teasing grin. That's the kind of smile you give after playing a harmless prank on someone, not when you pretend to almost fall off a building. Maybe he really is insane. The hero shakes the thought out of his head and the kid continues walking. I don't know how I traumatized them. I was in a good mood today. Why are you in a good mood? Shoyuta doubts Nightfall will fully answer his question if at all, but he asks nonetheless. For a few moments, the vigilante continues to walk on the edge, head tilted back to gaze at the sky. Eventually, he sits back down, dangling a leg over the edge and propping the other one up. He smiles at the hero. Let's just say, I finally got into my dream school. And with that, Nightfall pushes himself off the ledge. Shoyuta rushes forward, peering over the side of the building, but the vigilante is nowhere to be seen. He sighs. At least he's happy. Izuku walks down the road toward his home, whistling happily with a spring in his step. As he opens the door, he retrieves a knife and expertly twirls it between his fingers. He's learned lots of impressive knife tricks over the months. Still whistling, Izuku runs the blade down his wrists, slicing through them easily with smooth, clean cuts as blood drips into the jar below. I need to save up some money for school supplies and tuition. I'll have to fight soon to make some extra money. Maybe tonight. Izuku stands firmly in the ring, fists raised and nose bleeding. A powerful blow to the head in a previous round has caused his vision to blur at the edges, but Izuku pushes through. His friends plan to go to the mall tomorrow and shop for school supplies, but Izuku had spent most of his money stocking up on supplies for his patrol, so he continues to fight. He watches his opponent intently, analyzing their movements in an attempt to predict their next strike. This will be his final fight for the night to avoid angering the workers with his extended presence. The man in the ring steps forward, swinging out his tail, but Izuku already anticipated the move. He jumps up to avoid the attack, then swiftly twists in the air, bringing down his leg. His kick connects harshly with the man's skull, and he instantly collapses to the ground. A grin spreads across Izuku's face as the crowd erupts in cheers, chanting his name. Verde! 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 He revels in the adoration, feeling a sense of belonging in the midst of the chaos and applause. Why the hell do we need so much useless shit? Katsuki grumbles, scrolling through the extensive lists sent from the school. Reluctantly, he had agreed to accompany Izuku and Hitoshi to the mall, and Izuku could tell he was already starting to regret it. Like, what's with all these damn notebooks? We're not all nerds like Izuku, the blonde growls, frustration evident. Hey, writing things down helps me retain information. Izuku retorts defensively. Yeah, sure, whatever you say, shitty nerd. Izuku quietly agrees with Katsuki's sentiment though. The list does seem excessive, containing way too many supplies, and the costs are adding up more than he anticipated. Before proceeding to the checkout, Izuku hastily calculates the prices, counting his remaining money. Thank God, I have just enough left to cover the last of the supplies. Bakugo raises an eyebrow and the green-haired boy. What? You don't make good money being a Vig dash. He clamps his mouth shut and Izuku can practically hear the internal curses. Being a what? Hitoshi interjects, giving the two a quizzical look. Being a freaking virgin, Katsuki tries to amend, but Shinso looks unimpressed. Who says I'm a virgin? Izuku shoots Bakugo a glare as he approaches the cashier to check out. The Katsuki and Hitoshi exchange glances before promptly bursting out laughing. Hitoshi loses his grip on the notebooks, dropping them as he cackles loudly. Izuku scowls at their amusement, but they don't seem to care. Izuku likes to claim he's still a virgin. Those men didn't count. I was too young so it doesn't count. Shaking his head, he hands the cash to the cashier and offers him a forced smile. The three boys proceed to the next store, ready to get the last of their supplies, when Katsuki spots an All Might themed bag and holds it up to the others. I found the perfect pencil bag for you, he says with a smirk, but the smile quickly fades when Izuku scowls at the blonde boy. He pushes past them, heading to grab the rest of his supplies from the back of the store. Concerned, Hitoshi and Katsuki follow him. You don't like All Might? Hitoshi asks, giving him a curious look. But he's always been your favorite growing up, why don't you like him? He's fucking awesome, Katsuki probes further. Izuku sighs. I don't want to talk about it. He turns away from them, muttering under his breath, they always say to never meet your heroes. You met All Might? Izuku curses Hitoshi's enhanced hearing. When? Did something happen? Izuku sighs again, gathering his supplies. Okay, fucking fine. I'll tell you if you'll drop it afterward. The others nod in agreement. On the last day of, the last time I was at your school, he nods toward Katsuki, whose eyes widen when in realization. Well, I was attacked by this sludge villain thing and All Might saved me. But then he tried to leave, and since I was still dizzy from losing consciousness, I grabbed onto him, and suddenly, we were flying. He didn't take you to the police or the hospital after the villain attacked? Hitoshi interrupts, concern evident on his face. I was attacked by that shitty villain too, but they took me to the hospital immediately, Katsuki adds, surprise in his voice. I didn't know you were attacked as well, but stop interrupting and let me finish, assholes. Izuku walks to another section of the store, searching for backpacks. When he realized I was holding on to him, he dropped me off on a nearby building. Like on the roof? Yes, Katsuki, on the roof. Shut up and let me talk, Jesus Christ. The blonde scowls but remains silent. He dropped me off on the roof and then I asked if I could be a hero like him. And he said no. He said that since I was quirkless, I would never be able to save anyone. For once, the boys don't interrupt, they simply stare at him in shock. Izuku sighs at the painful memory. I had been so excited to meet him, even after he dropped me off on the roof, but then he caused the first time I killed myself. This time, Izuku is the one to interrupt himself. He clamps his mouth shut, teeth clicking together audibly, before desperately attempting to rectify what he just revealed. I don't mean actually kill myself, I meant that I just thought about it because of everything. I didn't do anything, I just got kind of depressed. But I'm all better now. Nothing really happened since or anything really. Izuku continues to ramble, but neither Katsuki nor Hitoshi believe a word he says. Katsuki's face is as pale as a ghost, knowing that Izuku most likely jumped off that roof, just like he had told him to. Hitoshi had seen the scars on the freckled boy's wrists, knowing fully well they came from failed suicide attempts, so he dismisses Izuku's attempts to downplay the situation. Before the green-haired boy can continue with his feeble excuses, their conversation is interrupted by the cashier. OMG Verde? Izuku freezes. Despite his attempts to hide his identity, his hood and mask have fallen off or been yanked off multiple times during fights, so his secret hasn't been as well guarded as he hoped. But the universe must truly hate him, since he found himself face to face with a regular patron from the underground fighting ring. Last night's matches were wild. You must have made a fortune. Are you using your winnings to pay today? Izuku gulps, avoiding looking at his friends behind him. He quickly shoves a wad of cash to the cashier and offers a tense smile. As soon as he retrieves his change, Izuku grabs the bag of supplies and dashes from the store, as if he could escape his friend's prying questions. What the was that about, fucking rat? Katsuki grabs the fleeing boy's shoulder, preventing him from escaping until Ibags catches up. Nothing. Just drop it, Izuku responds, his tone harsh and cold, but it does nothing to deter the angry blonde. Growling, Katsuki continues to hold onto Izuku as he attempts to pull away again. It wasn't fucking nothing. What was that? It doesn't have anything to do with you. Just let it go. Hitoshi steps forward, looking Izuku in the eyes. Aizu, she said something about a match. What does that mean? The boy chews on his bottom lip, contemplating. Katsuki is about to press for an answer, but Mindfuck shoots him a glare. Who the fuck does he think he is, glaring at me like that? Pushing down his anger, the blonde redirects his attention back to Izuku. Okay, so, I used to fight in this underground ring thing for money, he begins, and Katsuki feels the anger creeping back up. But I don't go anymore. It was just a pastime when I was younger. It was harmless, really. Izuku waves his hands around, as if attempting to deflect their concern, but it doesn't work. She literally said that you fought yesterday and won a bunch of money. Hitoshi raises an eyebrow and Izuku curses under his breath, mumbling a string of flimsy excuses. Why do you even need extra money in the first place? Doesn't Auntie Inko make enough? I thought she's a nurse, Katsuki questions, not quite understanding. Izuku and Auntie Inko always had a nice home and enough food in the fridge. They might not have been as well off as his own family, but they were by no means poor. At the mention of his mother, Izuku's gaze suddenly turns distant, as if he's no longer there in the mall. Oi rat, Katsuki snaps his fingers, attempting to regain the other's attention, but Izuku's gaze remains hazy and fixated on the floor. He looks at Hitoshi, who wears a concerned expression as well. The tired boy shrugs, before tentatively placing a hand on Izuku's shoulder. Startled, the green-haired boy jolts back to the present, his hands raised as to protect himself from a blow as he forcefully pulls away from Hitoshi's touch. Izuku blinks, and then gives the others a sheepish smile. I must be really tired, sorry. I think we should head home now. Katsuki glances at Mindfuck, who looks at him with the same knowing glance. Sure, my dad should be here any minute anyways, Hitoshi says, checking his phone. You guys want to come over to my place to hang out for a bit? Izuku shakes his head. Thank you, but I think I'm going to, organize my new stuff at home. Ibags shrugs. Suit yourself. Text me if you need anything. Katsuki watches as the purple hair disappears through the mall's exit before turning his attention back to Izuku. The smaller boy shrinks slightly under his intense glare. I have to go organize my bag and study the schedule? Oh. I don't know why I didn't realize it before, but we're going to your house? Katsuki snaps, his determination unwavering. The scarred boy tries to reject the offer, providing a multitude of excuses, but Katsuki stands firm. Finally, Izuku gives in. With a defeated sigh, he begins to lead the way. Fine. I'll show you my place, it's not too far from here. But, you have to promise not to judge me or anything. Katsuki rolls his eyes but nods, following in silence. After a short while, Izuku stops in front of a collapsed building. No judgment, right? The blonde rolls his eyes again, but affirms the promise. Just take me the rest of the way, shitty rat. A look that Katsuki can't comprehend crosses Izuku's face as he begins to fiddle with his hands. We're here. What the fuck? The first thing that Izuku hears after the agonizing silence is Katsuki's swearing. He had reluctantly brought the blonde to his home, despite his apprehension. What the fuck happened to Auntie Inko? Does she live here too? Katsuki stares at the building in horror, concern and anger etched onto his face. Let's go inside first. Inside? It's about to collapse. Don't be dramatic, Kats. Let's just go inside, and then we can talk about everything, Izuku insists, making his way through the rubble, reaching his room with ease. Katsuki, on the other hand, stumbles and trips multiple times, growling and cursing with each misstep. Once they are both safely inside, Izuku sets down his bags and turns to face Katsuki, whose expression is filled with concern. He glares at the smaller boy. Explain. Izuku sighs, taking a seat on the dusty couch. I haven't seen my mom since I was 8. Hisashi left when I was almost 6 because he believed I wouldn't develop a quirk. He tried to make me gain one through force though. He constantly put me in life-threatening situations in an attempt to trigger one. He abused me for my whole childhood, but after I was diagnosed quirkless, it got so much worse. Izuku shudders at the memory, before continuing. After he left, Mom stopped taking care of me. She started treating me as if I didn't exist, neglecting me. When I was 8, she told me she was going to visit a friend for a week, but she never returned. She left me the house, but I couldn't afford the rent or anything at my age. The little money I made he pauses briefly. The little money I did make was used for food and school supplies. Besides, the house held too many painful memories, so I decided it was better to leave. I lived on the streets for about a year or so before finding this place. Katsuki stares at him in horrified silence for several minutes. He opens his mouth as if about to say something multiple times, but the words never materialize. Finally, he finds his voice. You should have stayed in the old house. It's so much safer there, idiot. His words lack their usual bite, even the insult sounding soft. Izuku offers a small smile. Maybe. A few moments of silence pass between them. Katsuki breaks it. When you mentioned the roof and All Might, did you actually do it? Katsuki doesn't meet his gaze, as if not wanting to hear the answer. Yes, but not because of what you said. I wasn't going to until All Might told me I couldn't be a hero. The blonde scowls at the thought of it, and silence envelopes them once again. And when you said that you weren't a virgin, was that? He trails off, not knowing how to phrase it, but Izuku understands what he's asking. He nods, and a pained look crosses Katsuki's face. When? His voice is barely a whisper. A few times when I was younger though. I'm okay now, don't worry, Izuku reassures him, but Kat looks unconvinced. I'm so sorry. For everything, he buries his face in his hands. I always hated how your mom seemed so kind to you and mine wasn't like that, but I guess I never saw the whole picture, or something. I'm sorry. Izuku smiles softly at the blonde. It's okay. I forgive you. Kat studies him for a moment. Can I stay the night? Izuku hesitates, unsure if it's a good idea. Well, I have patrol tonight. Would your parents care if you stayed over? Katsuki shakes his head. I don't care. I'm tired and I don't want to walk back to my place. Izuku lets out a sigh. Okay, fine. But you're sleeping on the couch? I'm keeping the bed. Shoyuta spots Nightfall perching on a nearby rooftop and sighs in relief. After taking down numerous villains today, he had been concerned about the young vigilante's well-being. Once again, Nightfall is overjoyed for whatever reason, whistling cheerfully as he smiles out at the city. What's got you in such a good mood? Shoyuta walks over to the kid, standing a few feet away. His smile widens as he continues to survey the cityscape. My school starts soon. My dream school. And what school would that be? Shoyuta asks, knowing he won't receive an answer, but asking nonetheless. Tisk. Nightfall wags his finger playfully at the hero. Now that would be way too easy, wouldn't it? You can't win the game that way, Eraserhead. Game? Shoyuta furrows his brow as he thinks, trying to make sense of the kid's cryptic words. Besides, most schools had already begun their academic year. Why is his only just starting now? Could Nightfall be going to UA? Izuku returns home early in the morning, his bandaged stomach still oozing blood. He lets the door slam shut behind him but freezes when he notices the spiky blonde hair on the couch. Katsuki, who had been asleep moments earlier, sits up and rubs his eyes, still groggy with sleep. What? Is that blood? He mumbles as he squints at Izuku, his voice heavy with drowsiness. Blood? No, it's not blood. Go back to sleep, Izuku quickly responds. Don't tell me what to do, Katsuki grumbles, but lies back down and closes his eyes. Izuku lets out a sigh of relief. That was a close call. He stumbles over to his bed, grabbing a knife as he goes. The wound on his stomach is large and painful and Izuku would rather not deal with it for much longer. And so, with a quick slice of the wrists, Izuku is out. Izuku wakes up slowly, propping himself up on his elbows. Beside his bed, sits a very concerned and very angry Bakugo. Izuku's eyes widen as he remembers that the blonde spent the night. Oh, good morning, cats. I just woke up. He tries to put on a cheerful voice but Katsuki just glowers at him. Yeah, from the fucking dead. Izuku winces at the loud noise, then lets out a sigh. Okay, calm down, I'm fine. Dying is like sleeping for me, but it also heals my wounds, so usually after patrol, I'll come back home and rest. It's not fucking rest, dipshit, it's death. I saw those jars of blood. Is it yours? Katsuki demands, gesturing toward the half-covered stash of containers in the corner of the room, and Izuku winces. Remember that underground fighting ring thing? They also have a market and I can trade my blood for money or supplies. It's really not that bad. Katsuki growls in frustration. That is bad. You're fucking hurting yourself over this shit, that's not healthy. That's not okay, he scolds. Irritation starts to rise in Izuku, and he glares back at the blonde. Don't think I haven't seen those burns under your shirt before. Don't lecture me when you can't even help yourself. Instantly, Izuku wishes he could take the words back. He winces at the hurt expression that flashes across Katsuki's face and looks away. Kat, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have gone that far. The blonde huffs a sigh and stands. Shut up. Where are your scissors? Scissors? I'm giving you a haircut. It looks like a bird's nest up there. Izuku wants to be insulted, but he understands that this is how Katsuki shows he cares, so instead he just smiles. I don't actually have scissors. I have a knife though, will that work? Katsuki looks horrified. What? Get up. We're going to my house. Right now? Yes, idiot. Right now. Do I get a say in this? Katsuki scoffs. Of course not, rat. When they reach the Bakugo household, Izuku feels a surge of nervousness. As soon as Katsuki opens the door, yelling can be heard from inside. You're finally back, brat? Izuku watches as his friend tenses beside him and attempts to silently ascend the stairs. However, his mother emerges from the adjacent room and spots the two boys. She glares at Katsuki but blinks in surprise at the sight of the green-haired boy. Izuku? Is that you? She crosses the room and cradles the boy's face in her hands. I haven't seen you in so long. Hi, Auntie Mitsuki, Izuku replies sheepishly. Her eyes well up with tears as she pulls him into a tight hug, causing Izuku to stiffen. I had no idea where you were. I'm so glad you're okay. Katsuki, from a step above, rolls his eyes. I'm giving him a haircut, hag. Let go already. Her demeanor instantly changes as she glares at her son, but before she can say anything, Katsuki grabs Izuku's arm and drags him up to his room. Once upstairs, Katsuki begins rummaging through his room, searching for the right supplies. Oi, go take a shower. Your hair looks greasy as fuck. Izuku rolls his eyes at the comment but accepts the clothes Katsuki throws at him and heads to the bathroom. It's been years since Izuku had a proper shower, one not in public. He lets the hot water wash over his body as he scrubs the dirt and blood from his skin. The scalding water stings as it runs over his body, especially his burn scars, but he doesn't really mind the pain. After the shower, Izuku changes into fresh clothing and sits in the chair that Katsuki placed in the bathroom. His hair has grown long, the dark green strands reaching his shoulders. Katsuki cuts Izuku's hair in silence, working quickly and efficiently. Untangling the knots takes the most time, but the blonde works diligently without complaint, detangling his matted hair. Finally, the haircut is complete. Izuku's hair is much shorter than before, with the back and sides trimmed close while the top remains slightly longer. Katsuki styled it as well, skillfully using products that Izuku has never even heard of. His curls are more pronounced than he's ever seen them before, no longer weighed down by grease and grime. Izuku stares at himself in the mirror, awestruck. Whoa, Kats, this is amazing. I fucking know. Don't underestimate me, Ret. Katsuki shoves something into Izuku's hands. This is a spray you can use after washing your hair. It'll help with your curls. And take these too. I have extra. By the time his hair is dry, Izuku has a box full of shampoo, conditioner, soap, and various other supplies that the homeless boy hasn't even seen in years. Katsuki tosses him a thin metal tool and Izuku catches it in the air, giving the blonde a curious glance. Clean your nails. It's fucking disgusting how much dirt and blood you have under there. Okay, why? He begins to clean his nails. School starts tomorrow, fuckwit. I'm painting mine and yours need to be cleaned, Katsuki informs him, sighting on the floor across from Izuku, a container of black nail polish in hand. Can I paint mine too? What other colors do you have? Izuku asks, excitement evident in his voice. The blonde glowers at him but there's no anger in his voice as he speaks. Fucking fine. I have a dark green shade you might like. Or red. Izuku beams. I'll take green. After cleaning his nails, Izuku realizes that nail polish is much harder to apply than he had thought. After attempting to do a few nails, Katsuki sighs heavily. This is literally painful to watch. Give me that shit. And so, the two of them sit in Kat's room, painting each other's nails in a comfortable silence. It's the perfect last day of break. The next day marks Izuku's first day of UA. His first step toward becoming a true hero. Izuku arrives to the school earlier than he would have liked, but with all his excitement, he had left patrol early and slept sooner than usual, hoping the next day would come quicker. Unfortunately for him, it only led to waking up a few hours before necessary. As he enters the class, several students are already seated. Izuku makes his way his seat behind Katsuki, who is currently being berated by the blue-haired boy from the entrance exam. You're disrespecting the school property. Remove your feet immediately, the boy scolds, chopping his arms as he glares down at the spiky-haired boy. Huh? Don't tell me what to do, fucking extra. Sitting down with a sigh, Izuku suddenly finds the blue-haired boy turning his attention to him. My name is Tenya Ida. I apologize for my rudeness during the exam. You realize there was more to the test than it seemed, and I misread you, the boy, Ida says, bowing deeply, and Izuku raises his eyebrows, taken aback. It's fine. I didn't realize there was another part, I just didn't want that girl to get hurt. As if on cue, the brown-haired girl pops up beside Ida. You're here. I'm so glad you got in. My name's Ochako Uraraka. She beams brightly and Izuku can't help but smile back. Izuku Midoriya, nice to meet you. She shakes his outstretched hand enthusiastically. Nice to meet you too, Midoriya. He winces slightly. Call me Izuku, please. She nods and continues to introduce herself to the other students, while Izuku glances behind him to where he earlier spotted Hitoshi sitting. The lilac hair is resting on his arms and Izuku smiles softly at the tired boy before making his way to Hitoshi's desk. Wake up, Dunce. Class is about to start, Izuku says lightly, kicking the boy's chair. Hitoshi glares up at him. I'm awake, asshole. I got here before any of you did. Why? Izuku starts, but he gets interrupted when Hitoshi's answer crawls out of a yellow sleeping bag. The students hurry to their seats, staring wide-eyed at the man standing in front of the class, their new teacher. Eraserhead. The tired man glares at the class. It took you all 8 seconds to quiet down. You'll have to be faster than that if you want to be a hero. Izuku can't help but be amused. Despite Eraser's attempts to come across as cold and intimidating, the young vigilante has seen the hero be soft way too many times. I am your homeroom teacher, Shoyuda Aizawa. Put on your gym clothes and meet me on the PE grounds in 15 minutes. Don't be late. Uraraka shoots her hand in the air. What about the entrance ceremony? We don't have time for those, the teacher interrupts. You're down to 14 minutes? The students jump from their seats, rushing to the lockers to change in time. Izuku attempts to hide his scars from the gaze of his classmates, changing quickly to avoid any unwanted questions. Luckily for him, they're all too busy trying to get changed in time to notice anything. As a red-headed boy trips on his pants, face planting into the ground, people turn to laugh and Izuku pauses with his shirt off. He smiles at the commotion before feeling someone staring at him. As he glances around, quickly putting his shirt on, Izuku makes eye contact with a tall boy on the other side of the locker room. He has half red and white hair and a burn scar covering part of his face. His eyes are intense and cold as they glare at the green-haired boy. Izuku can't help but think of how pretty the other looks. As the class dashes to the field, Aizawa waits impatiently, holding a stopwatch. You all are 7 minutes late. You'll have to be faster than that in the future if you want to last at this school. Izuku, attempting to hide his own smile, spots Hitoshi doing the same. The teacher continues to talk. We are going to do a Quirk apprehension test with 5 parts. Softball pitch, standing long jump, 50-meter dash, grip strength test, and sustained sideways jump. The class is silent as they take in the information, thoughts racing in everyone's mind. You should use your Quirk as much as possible. You will all be ranked and the person with the lowest score will be expelled. At this, the class outbursts. You can't expel us on the first day. That doesn't seem fair. Is he even allowed to do that? Aizawa's hair raises above him threateningly, and the class falls silent. Bakugo, he suddenly calls out. How far could you pitch a softball in middle school? If surprised by the sudden question, he doesn't show it. 67 meters. Come to the circle. Try using your Quirk this time. As long as you don't exit the circle, anything goes. Got it? Katsuki smirks, taking the ball from Aizawa. He stretches his arms out, taking a deep breath, and throws the ball with all his might. As the ball leaves his hand, Katsuki lets out a huge explosion, creating a shockwave that makes the students nearby take a step back as he yells, "Die!" A hush falls over the class before the teacher holds up the tracker. It reads 7:05.2 m. Oh, that's so far. Die. 750 meters is so long. That's so manly. The chorus of voice is cut off as Aizawa calls the next student up to the circle. Hitoshi observes in silence as the students perform their softball pitches, trying to keep track of their names as they get called up. As some sparkly guy named Aoyama is called to the circle, Hitoshi gets the feeling that someone is watching him. He glances around, but sees nothing. When it persists, he turns around completely. Behind him, Hitoshi spots a boy with blonde hair and a black streak in it staring at him with wide eyes. Hitoshi shoots him a glare, before focusing on the trials again. After a few moments, the sensation of Sosomion's gaze on him returns. Once again, Hitoshi glances around before realizing the blonde is still staring at him. When he spots him, the shorter boy averts his gaze quickly, but Hitoshi just glares. Stop fucking staring at me, he snaps, growing frustrated with the unwarranted attention. With a sigh, he once again returns his attention to the softball pitch. A taller person named Koda goes up to the circle. But the eyes return, and he can feel the boy's gaze on him once more. He's had enough. Turning on his heel, Hitoshi glares down at the boy. What the fuck is your problem? Why are you staring? The blonde's eyes widen, a pink flush making its way up his cheeks, most likely out of embarrassment at being caught. What? I said stop staring, Hitoshi reiterates, his glare unwavering. The boy lowers his head, but Hitoshi keeps his gaze on him a moment longer. After a moment, the blonde looks back up, his golden eyes locking with Hitoshi's narrowed ones. The boy takes a startled step back, but Hitoshi closes the distance quickly. What do you want? Do you want to fight? Hitoshi growls, his frustration getting the better of him. Fight? No. He waves his hands around wildly before pausing. Do you want to fight? This isn't said threateningly, but as if he's genuinely curious. Hitoshi just glares at him. This kid is trying to pick a fight with him? He doesn't even know Hitoshi's quirk. The taller boy knows he could win easily against this talkative kid. You don't want to fight me, I could make you do anything I want. Once again, the blonde's eyes widen, his face somehow growing more red. Yeah. He laughs nervously, you totally could. Before Hitoshi can ask what that means or dwell on the strange behavior of the other, he hears his name being called for his turn. He quickly makes his way to the circle and his dad, Aizawa, hands him the ball. Anything goes? He questions, raising an eyebrow at the teacher. As long as you stay in the circle, he confirms. Grinning mischievously, Hitoshi decides to test these boundaries. Hey, gravity girl, he calls out. What was your name again? Uraka or something? It's Uraraka. Got her. The girl's face goes slack, eyes hazy. Come here and make the ball float, he commands. She obliges easily. With a simple toss, the ball soars into the air. Aizawa holds up the tracker, the screen holding an infinity sign. A chorus of voices erupt from the class. How come he could get help from someone else? That's not fair. That was so hot. The teacher's hair rises again, silencing the students with a glare. If you didn't catch what happened, then you need to pay better attention next time. What he did was perfectly within the rules. The class mumbles to themselves as Hitoshi joins Katsuki and a few others on the other side, his encounter with the strange blonde boy still lingering in his mind. Izuku Midoriya. When Izuku is called up to pitch, he already has a plan. Taking a deep breath, he enters the circle, clutching his staff. Aizawa had allowed him to use it in the trials, though unfortunately his knives weren't permitted. Holding the ball, Izuku tosses it lightly in his hands. Then, in a swift motion, he throws it up in the air and swings his staff. It connects with the ball, sending it soaring into the air. Izuku can't help but smile when he sees his score, 815 meters. Katsuki scowls back at him as he stands by the blonde's side, while Hitoshi simply offers him a lazy smile. The rest of the test proceeds quickly, and Izuku likes to think he did fairly well. As the students line up to get their results, he isn't nervous. Aizawa pulls up the chart and gives the class a wide, crazy-looking smile. By the way, the whole expulsion thing was a lie. Nobody's getting expelled. This time, when the class erupts with outrage, the teacher doesn't attempt to calm them down. Ignoring their shouts, Izuku examines the chart and finds himself in 4th place, just below Katsuki. Izuku smiles to himself. I really can be a hero after all. Walking back to class, he ignores the comments about his quirk, overhearing people discussing whether it's a speed or agility quirk. Some even seem to think it's a strength quirk. Izuku simply smiles, knowing it's none of those. I'll show everyone that a quirkless person can be a hero too. As the students sit in English class, Izuku begins to get a weird, ominous feeling, like a foreboding presence. He knows Present Mike hasn't stopped stealing glances at him throughout the class, but this feeling is different, more troubling. Hitoshi informed Izuku the previous day that Present Mike was actually his other dad, and the green-haired boy could barely focus the rest of the day due to the shock of the pure coincidence of having met with all of the family before school. As the bell rings, the classroom door slams open. I am here. Izuku scowls, sinking deeper into his seat as All Might enters the room. Now, instead of Mike, he can feel Hitoshi's gaze on him from the back of the room. I will be your foundational hero studies teacher. Let's jump right in with the trial of battle. The tall man speaks, his tone loud and cheerful. Izuku hates it. Get your gear and meet me at ground beta. The hero begins to walk out the door when someone speaks up. All Might Sensei? A tall girl with a ponytail raises her hand. We haven't gotten our hero outfits yet? Oh, All Might pauses. That's right. My mistake, here we go. He presses a button on the side of the room, and the wall panels open, revealing briefcases with the students' numbers on them. Despite his bad mood, Izuku can't help but scoff at the man's oversight, and from the sound of his reaction, Katsuki feels the same. In the changing room, Izuku gazes down at the set of clothing. A black lightweight tactical jacket with a slightly loose fit, crafted from fireproof material for protection and flexibility. Dark green accent adorn the jacket along with the trim, providing a subtle yet distinctive touch. Beneath the jacket, there is a fitted tank top cropped to his stomach, matching the dark green color of the accents. His baggy cargo pants come equipped with multiple pockets for storing tools and gadgets. Additionally, there is a utility belt that sits around his waist, featuring specialized sheaths for his knives and compartments for items like lockpicking tools, smoke pellets, and communication devices. Fingerless gloves that cover his forearms sit on top of the rest of his clothing, able to enhance his grip and protect his knuckles. Izuku hopes that this won't give away his identity as Nightfall, believing he made enough changes for it to be alright. He still carries throwing knives, dulled down for in-school practices, along with an extendable bow staff. He has only used it a few times, but he resolves to perfect it soon. Izuku smiles to himself as he undresses from his school uniform. As he pulls his new pants completely up, he suddenly hears gasps behind him. He turns around, hoping to figure out what happened, but he quickly realizes that his classmates were gasping at the sight of him. Oh, my scars. I forgot. Quickly, Izuku turns back around, pulling on his shirt and jacket. He tries to finish changing into his gear in peace, but unfortunately he doesn't get the chance. Dude, what happened? The redhead asks. Izuku thinks his name was Kirishima. Are you okay? Those look painful. Someone else chimes in, but Izuku doesn't bother to check who. Before he can figure out what to say, Katsuki steps in front of him. What the fuck are you extras looking at? Get changed and fucking leave. The ashen blonde boy stomps out of the lockers and Izuku quickly follows suit. As he exits, he can hear Ida's scolding tone. Although I don't approve of that language, Bakugo is correct. It is insensitive to ask about such personal things. With a sigh, Izuku waits for the rest of his classmates to join him on ground beta. Once they arrive, he watches All Might with a glare while the man explains the simulation, a battle against heroes and villains. When the teacher gets to the point of choosing groups, All Might looks nervously back at Izuku. Young Midoriya, he begins. You will be sitting out from participating in this simulation. Katsuki has only seen Izuku angry a few times in his life, and whenever it happens, he knows to stay away. Young Midoriya, you will be sitting out from participating in this simulation. All Might practically signed his death certificate, because when Katsuki looks over at Izuku, the boy isn't angry, no. He's livid. And why is that, All Might? Izuku asks through gritted teeth, his glare burning holes in the larger hero. Well, he looks around nervously. We really should discuss this in private, my boy. I'm not your boy. We can discuss it here, Izuku snaps back. Katsuki can hear the students around him begin to mumble, talking in what they think are hushed tones. All Might glances around at the other students. Are you sure that's? Is it because I'm quirkless? At this, the whole class falls silent, watching Izuku wordlessly. I don't want you to get hurt, young Midoriya. The class erupts into whispers again. Quirkless? Is he really? I could have sworn he had an agility quirk. Or at least a speed one. Why can't he fight because of that? It's not really All Might's place to decide. Wow, he got into UA quirkless. That's so manly. Izuku's words cut through the mutterings. I can take care of myself. I'm fighting. I got into UA on my own account. You can't stop me from fighting because of your bigoted beliefs. All Might pales and several students gasp. Katsuki sighs before elbowing the green-haired boy in the ribs. Oi, shut up. You can fight, so back off. Izuku glares at him for a moment before stepping back. All Might clears his throat. Okay, let's choose the teams now, shall we? Izuku found himself facing Todoroki and Ida for the battle trials, with Uraraka on his team. All Might allows the villain team to set up their defenses first while giving the heroes time to plan their strategy. I think Ida's going to stay and defend the weapon while Todoroki will most likely be patrolling to prevent us from reaching the top, which is where I assume Ida will be waiting, Izuku strategizes. Uraraka nods, listening intently. I can take on Todoroki. You should try to sneak to the top without Ida noticing. Do you think you can do that? She hesitates for a second before nodding again. Do you need help with Todoroki, though? He has a super powerful quirk. No, he assures her, sounding more confident than he feels. I can take him. Uraraka doesn't look at him with pity or disbelief. Instead, she smiles. Let's do our best then, Izuku. The scarred boy returns the smile, happy that she isn't underestimating him due to his quirkless status. Finally, the timer goes off and the fight begins. The two partners silently enter the building, nodding at each other before parting ways. Izuku heads up the stairway, listening intently for any sound of footsteps. After months of patrolling, Izuku trained his hearing and other senses to be much more sensitive to motion and noise, so when he reaches the third level, he knows he's found Todoroki. Taking out his bow staff, Izuku peeks around the corner, and alas, there the red and white boy stands, in all his beauty. Izuku creeps around the walls, staying hidden in the shadows, ready to attack. When Todoroki's back is turned, Izuku lunges forward. Swinging his staff at the back of Todoroki's legs, the boy falls to his knees. In his surprise, he lets out a stream of ice, which covers the floor, creeping up Izuku's legs and securing him to the ground. Todoroki catches his breath, standing and stepping back, but Izuku doesn't give him much time. In an instant, he slams the staff into the ice near his feet, the cracks spreading across the blue surface, and uses all his body's strength to pull himself from the icy embrace. Before Todoroki can react, Izuku dashes forward and lands a roundhouse kick on the boy's side, throwing him sideways into a wall. Not giving him a chance to recover, Izuku quickly reaches him again, turning him on his back and pressing his face into the ground. Ice creeps up Izuku's hands as he binds Todoroki's, but he pays it no mind. Todoroki has been captured. All Might's voice echoes through the training building, a hint of disbelief in the words. Below him, the boy watches Izuku with wide eyes, shocked. Izuku just stands back up, brushing the dirt from his clothes with a smirk. Good fight, Todoroki. The green-haired boy walks away before he can notice the slight flush creeping up Todoroki's face. Before Izuku can reach the top level of the building, All Might's voice resonates again. The heroes have won the first battle. Good job, everyone. Please exit the building and return to the group. Izuku runs into Uraraka before he can completely exit the building. Good job taking out Todoroki, Izuku. She smiles brightly and high-fives him. He smiles back. Thanks, good job taking care of Ida, you did good. The group returns to the monitoring area with the rest of the class. Well done, students. All of you did a good job, though there's always room for improvement. Does anyone know where some things went wrong? The tall ponytail girl raises her hand immediately. The heroes, Izuku and Uraraka, both did everything well, but the villains made a couple mistakes. The group separated instead of staying together, and Todoroki wasn't aware of his surroundings, standing out in the open, which allowed Izuku to have the advantage of surprise. Ida left his post after Todoroki got captured, which allowed Uraraka to capture the weapon. There's a beat of silence before the teacher speaks again. Well said, young Yaoyorozu. I couldn't have put it better myself. Let's choose the next teams, shall we? Izuku listens intently as he traverses the rooftops. He heard a crash from this direction, but isn't completely sure where it came from. When he gets closer, landing on top of a convenience store, Izuku checks the alleyways around the area but finds nothing. As he begins to leave to search elsewhere, he hears another sound, coming from below him. He jumps from the roof, landing in a crouch as he peers through the front window. Sure enough, a burglar stands, holding a gun and a bag. Izuku contemplates the best course of action, But in the end, the only thing he can come up with most likely isn't a good idea, yet he follows through nonetheless. As the criminal takes a step toward the cashier, Izuku crashes through the window, throwing himself between the villain and the poor old man up front. A shot rings out, but Izuku doesn't hesitate. He kicks the gun from the man's grip in a swift motion, and the criminal freezes. Izuku takes this chance to punch him squarely in the jaw, and with that, he falls unconscious, body dropping to the floor. Izuku quickly binds the criminal's hands, shooting a text to the detective before checking to make sure the cashier is uninjured. The man stands shakily, staring wide-eyed. "Thank you, you saved me." Izuku simply nods. "I've seen you on the news, you're Nightfall, aren't you?" "The news? What does he mean?" Again he nods. With a last searching glance, Izuku deems the man unharmed and promptly leaves. As the adrenaline wears off, Izuku can feel a stinging pain in his shoulder, but before he can check to see why, he senses Eraserhead's presence behind him. "Nightfall, I heard you stopped a robbery. Are you hurt?" The voice is low and steady, and Izuku turns toward the man. "Nope. All good here," Izuku replies with a smile, but the hero's face only becomes more worried. "No, you're not, you're bleeding, kid." "Bleeding?" Izuku reaches a hand to his aching shoulder. When he pulls it away, it's coated in blood. "That's where the bullet went, I guess." Eraserhead just stares. "It's all right, I just need to patch it up later. I have school in the morning, so I need to get home." "It was nice seeing you though, Eraser." As Izuku scales a nearby building, lifting himself onto the roof, he can hear the hero's voice from behind him. "You're going to school still? You just got shot." Izuku doesn't respond. He has to get home before he bleeds out. "You need to choose your class representatives today." "I don't care who wins, I'll be taking a nap." Shoyuta crawls into his yellow sleeping bag, zipping it up. "Can we do an anonymous poll?" Ida asks, hand in the air. "Do what you want. Just have them picked by the end of the class." Inside his sleeping bag, Shoyuta doesn't nap as he claims he does. Instead, he takes these opportunities to observe how the class interacts with each other when they think nobody is watching. After a few days of school, he already picked up on many things. He noticed how Tsuyu watched her classmates constantly, usually staying silent, as if trying to understand the other kids. He noticed how Bakugo, despite how loud and rude he comes across, would constantly glance at Midoriya and a few other students, noticing when they were tense or upset. He noticed how Mina would instantly jump from her seat and walk to other students' desks. He noticed how Kaminari seemed incapable of sitting still for more than a few seconds. He noticed how Todoroki would flinch at sudden noises or movements. He noticed how Midoriya's eyes would scan the room as he entered, as if checking for threats and exit routes. Midoriya was a very interesting student to observe. Something seemed off about him. He constantly seemed on edge, his body never relaxing. He seemed to force the smile onto his face when others looked at him. But Shoyuta noticed that when all the eyes were focused elsewhere, the smile would drop, his eyes shifting around the room once more. After counting the votes, Midoriya had the most, which didn't come across as a surprise to the teacher, though it did to Midoriya himself. Yaoyorozu was voted as vice president, which Shoyuta thought fit. She's a very put-together young lady, although it slightly worried him how she seemed incapable of being relaxed or of having fun like most other teens. He climbs from the yellow bag and gives the class a lazy stare. "What was your decision?" He can see Hitoshi smile at this. His son has heard about his observation habits already. "Midoriya is the president and Yaoyorozu is vice president," Aizawa-sensei. Ida reports, stiffly. Despite his even tone, Shoyuta can tell the boy is disappointed that he didn't receive the position. Izuku isn't sure where to sit when he arrives at lunch, but Uraraka bounds over to a table with her tray of food and beckons him over. Ida joins shortly after, and Hitoshi slides into the seat next to Izuku. The group sits in an uncomfortable silence for a moment, before Uraraka speaks up. "I can't believe you got class president, Izuku." He has to keep down the grimace that threatens to rise to the surface. "Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm good for that job though. I'm not the most organized person." "Nonsense. You got voted because the class deemed you fit." Ida announces loudly. "I, myself, voted for you as well. I believe you have a way of directing a room." Before Izuku can respond, Hitoshi snorts beside him. Did you see Katsuki's face though? He was pissed. Izuku laughs at this, nodding. Kat's always wanted to be class president in middle school. He must have been mad that I beat him to it. Who's Kat's? Eureka asks, tilting her head. She was eating so fast a moment before that she still has a piece of rice on the corner of her mouth. Bakugo, the blonde angry guy. Eureka and Ida's eyes widen in shock. You're that close with him? He's so scary. Hitoshi raises his eyebrows. Some people would say me and Aizu are scary too. Nobody says anything. Suddenly, Izuku gets a shiver down his back and he's instantly on high alert. Hitoshi glances at him, curious, but Izuku doesn't pay him any mind. He tries to drown out the noise of the lunchroom, heightening his senses to try and catch anything off. His intuition is telling him it's coming from the floor below, and Izuku has learned to trust his gut feeling. It's never led him astray before. He stands and the whole table glances at him. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, I'll be right back. Okay. Make sure to grab some food when you return. Eureka must have noticed that he wasn't eating lunch, but those cost money and Izuku doesn't have much to spare at the moment. As he makes his way downstairs, suddenly the alarms begin to blare overhead. He winces at the sudden loud noise but spots a suspicious figure moving through the empty halls, sneaking into a restricted room. He follows the man, slipping into the room before the door clicks closed. The man in question doesn't look old, but has light blue hair with hands covering his face and arms. Izuku doesn't want to think about where he got them from. Hiding in the shadows of the dark room, he watches the man go through the files in the desk. When he grabs one out, Izuku decides to step from the shadows. The man startles slightly, and Izuku grabs onto one of the many hidden knives he has on him. The villain's gaze drops to the knife and his eyes narrow. He removes his glove and takes a menacing step forward. Izuku doesn't waver under the man's stare. Instead he grins, taking a matching step forward. The villain reaches out a hand, but before he can make any contact, a voice comes from the back wall. Shigaraki, we did not come here to pick a fight. If you got it, then it's time to leave, the voice says, low and scolding. The man huffs a sigh before walking toward the back wall. Until we meet again, player 2. If Izuku knew there was a portal, he would have attempted to stop the man for leaving, but he doesn't realize it until the man is halfway gone already. With a sigh, Izuku returns to the classroom. When he arrives, opening the door with a little too much force, the class stops and looks at him. Katsuki glares from his seat, small explosions going off in his hand. Where the fuck were you, rat? But as soon as he says this, he winces and reaches a hand up to his ear. Izuku wonders if the alarms messed with his hearing aids. Language, Bakugo, Aizawa reprimands. But that is a good question. Where were you, Midoriya? Oh, well, I was going to go use the bathroom, but I noticed a strange figure lurking around, so I decided to follow him. And why didn't you inform a staff member about this? I thought it would be too late, so I just followed the guy. He took something from the files room and left through this portal thing. His name was Shigaraki or something, I believe. The class just stares at him, their faces full of awe and fear. Talk to me after class, Midoriya. Izuku sighs, walking to his seat. Yes, sensei. And put that knife away while you're at it. Students are not supposed to have weapons when not training. Izuku blinks down at the dagger he still holds in his hand, eyes widening in embarrassment. He quickly sheathes it in the hidden holder he created on the inside of his jacket, earning an unamused eyebrow raise from Aizawa. As the class goes on, Izuku learns that Ida had stopped the panic of the alarm earlier, and in an attempt to get out of president duty, he nominates Ida instead, and the class agrees after a little convincing. The class ends quickly, and despite Izuku's attempts at sneaking through the door in the crowd, Aizawa spots him and drags him back into the classroom. So much for not drawing too much attention to myself. Shoyuta stares at the young boy in front of him. He looks anxious, fiddling with his hands and picking at his nail beds, yet his eyes hold a determined, stubborn look. Midoriya, I received the footage of the room from Principal Nedzu. There's only one angle. The trespassers were able to take out 4 of the cameras, but didn't catch the last one. How about we watch it together? Midoriya gulps but nods. He pulls up the footage sent from the principal. The room is dark, but Shoyuta watches as the door quietly swings open, a young man stepping inside. Before the door can fully close, a figure slips through, hiding in the shadows. If Shoyuta hadn't known beforehand that the figure was Midoriya, he would have assumed it to be a professional stealth hero of some sort, or someone with a stealth or camouflage quirk at the very least. The student and teacher watch in silence as the villain fingers through the files, eventually pulling one out. When he does, the figure from the shadows steps forward, and Shoyuta internally sighs. The figure has a knife in hand, and the villain removes a glove, stepping forward. Shoyuta can't be sure, but in the footage it looks almost as if Midoriya is grinning. That can't be right. Any student would be terrified in this situation. The figures exchange words briefly before the villain walks through a portal in the wall. Shoyuta closes the computer and looks at Midoriya, who attempts to avoid the intent gaze at all possible cost. "Why did you follow him into the room?" His voice comes out cold. I was on the way to the bathroom and..." "On the bottom floor?" he interrupts. "You were at lunch before I thought." Yes. "And when I saw him, I thought that he might be dangerous, so I followed him." Shuta's eyes scrutinize the boy's face. Something isn't right. It's not that he doesn't believe what the kid says about the villain, but something about his demeanor seems off. "Midoriya," he says, hoping to get something out of the guarded boy. "Tell me the truth." The boy's green eyes anxiously search the older man's face, and Shoyuta tries to push down all emotion that could be showing. In an instant, the energy around them shifts. The stuttering, anxious boy from before is long gone, and in his place sits the real Midoriya. "I guess you would notice something was off, wouldn't you, Eraser?" He says this under his breath, but Shouta catches it. Something about this scarred boy seems so very familiar, but he can't pinpoint what. "Near the beginning of lunch, at 12:52, I felt like something was wrong, so I went to investigate and ended up on the first floor." Midoriya speaks with confidence that wasn't there before, his voice sturdy and eyes staring deeply into Shuta's. "I noticed a figure sneaking into the room, and so I followed. He was looking for a file, I'm not sure which one, but when he found it, I confronted him, but we were interrupted by a voice from the portal, calling him Shigaraki and saying that they need to leave for now. It sounded as if they were planning on returning." Shigaraki was about 175 centimeters and probably in his early 20s. He seems to have a touch-based emitter quirk as well. Shoyuta can only stare in shock as this kid rattles off facts and information. He'd only been in the room with the villain for a few minutes. How does he know all this? After a pause, Shoyuta gets his expression under control. "Anything else?" The kid shakes his head. "I will report the information to Nedza later. Now, why do you have a knife on you, Midoriya?" The kid doesn't begin to stutter or look away. His gaze stays locked on the teacher and his voice remains calm and nonchalant. "I have multiple hidden knives on me in case of a villain attack or in case I need them." Shoyuta raises his eyebrows at this. UA is one of the most protected schools in Japan. Why do you feel the need to protect yourself? There was a break-in today, was there not, Aizawa-sensei? Shoyuta blinks. "This little shit. How many knives do you have on you currently?" The kid hesitates for a brief moment before answering. 5. Shoyuta raises an eyebrow. 10, the kid amends. The teacher can only sigh. "I still feel like you're not being honest, but I won't press. If you ever use them on a student or teacher, I will have to remove all of them. Permanently." The kid simply nods. "Go to your next class, kid." Midoriya hurries out of the room, leaving Shoyuta alone with his confusing thoughts. Why does he seem so familiar? Why does he feel the need to protect himself here? Why does he put on that mask, pretending to be anxious all the time? Shoyuta lets out a heavy sigh. He gets the feeling that he'll understand soon enough. Izuku has 23 knives on him at all times. The night after he was accepted into UA, he modified his uniform, adding many secret compartments to store his weapons. His belt can hold up to 6 knives in sewn-on sheaths. His jacket has a few hidden inner pockets, each capable of carrying 3 throwing knives. Additionally, ankle holsters allow him to carry 4 small daggers, and under each sleeve, there are 2 thin daggers attached to his forearms, held there by wristbands for easy access and comfortability. Of course, Izuku would never tell anyone, especially not his teacher, how many he has concealed since that would ruin the whole secret thing. He doesn't realize how handy these knives will be until he enters the USJ grounds. As Izuku steps into the grounds for what was supposed to be rescue training, a sudden cold chill runs down his spine. He glances around the open grounds, his keen eyes searching for anything out of the ordinary. In the center of the arena, a peculiar purple mass appears, slowly growing larger. Hastily interrupting 13, who had been in the middle of explaining the class plans, Izuku rushes forward and calls out to his teacher. Aizawa-sensei. Something's here. The teacher instantly tenses, scanning the grounds for whatever Izuku spotted. The green-haired boy quickly grabs a knife from the hidden compartment in his jacket and throws it toward the growing purple anomaly, which the bigger it gets, the more it resembles the portal from the previous day. As it expands, several villains spill out onto the training grounds, led by none other than the man from before, Shigaraki. The knife flies through the air, hitting a villain in the shoulder as confusion and panic sweeps through the students. What is that? Is this part of the training? Kirishima calls out amidst the commotion. Don't move. Eraserhead wastes no time. He slides his goggles on and steps in front of his students. Those are villains. All of you, get out of here immediately. 13 and I will handle them. Izuku knows the two heroes cannot handle the overwhelming number of villains alone, yet Aizawa immediately throws himself into battle, sacrificing his own well-being for the safety of his students. The rest of the class stands frozen, unsure of what to do, but Izuku doesn't hesitate. He has enough experience with fighting that he's left unfazed by the chaos. Seeing that nobody is moving, Izuku turns to face his classmates, his voice firm. What are you doing? Go. Ida, you're the fastest, go get help immediately. Ida snapped out of his daze, giving a curt nod before dashing out the doors. But as the other classmates try to follow, the purple void spreads in front of the exit, blocking their escape. I'm afraid I can't allow that, a low voice emanates from the void. In an instant, Kirishima and Katsuki spring into action, explosions and fists at the ready. But before their attacks can land, the void spreads under the students, and everything goes black. Moments later, as light reaches Izuku's eyes again, he finds himself on a ship in the middle of the flood zone. Hitoshi and Azui are on the ship as well, fear evident in their wide eyes. After shaking off the dizziness, Izuku begins to form a plan in his mind. Hitoshi, Azui, are you alright? Call me Tsuyu, the frog girl corrects with a nod. Hitoshi nods as well, confirming his well-being. Okay, good. Hitoshi, I need you to call out to the villains in the water. They're waiting for us to react since they don't know our quirks yet. Azui, Tsuyu, after the chaos settles in from Hitoshi, I need you to use your jumping strength to bring us to land. You can carry us, right? The two nod again before getting straight to work. Hey, boneheads! Hitoshi shouts, taunting the villains in the water. You want to come up and fight us like real men, or stay down in the water like the cowards you are? Instantly, the villains yell out in outrage. Perfect. About half the villains respond, and Hitoshi continues with a grin. Attack the closest villain to you. The men in the water break out into fights, but the trio doesn't stay to watch the chaos unfold. Tsuyu skillfully wraps her tongue around Hitoshi's midsection and grabs onto Izuku with her arms. She leaps into the air, with the help of Izuku's jumping strength, and they land safely on the edge of the central plaza. Once on solid ground again, Izuku assesses the scene that unfolds around him. Aizawa is fighting against a multitude of villains. Many are already incapacitated, but the teacher appears injured. Without a moment's hesitation, Izuku rushes into battle, ignoring the cries from Hitoshi and Tsuyu. The villains are much weaker than ones Izuku has fought before, so within the first couple of minutes, he takes down many. A quick punch to the face, a hit with his bow staff, an axe kick to the head, and they fall like flies. When his teacher notices that Izuku joined the fight, he looks livid. Midoriya, I told you all to evacuate. You can't fight them by yourself, sensei. Let me help. Before Aizawa can yell at him more, Shigaraki charges toward him. The hero deftly dodges the initial attack, throwing his elbow out at the villain, but Shigaraki manages to catch his jab, resulting in a horrifying sight. Izuku hears Eraserhead make a strangled, pained noise, and watches in horror as the skin on his elbow disintegrates, crumbling into pieces before his eyes. With adrenaline, or maybe it's fear, coursing through his veins, Izuku swiftly grabs and throws a knife, hitting Shigaraki's arm and eliciting a cry of pain from the villain. He yanks his hand back from Eraserhead and glares at the green-haired boy. Oh well, looks like player 2 has joined the fight. Izuku doesn't take the time to figure out what this means. Instead, he positions himself between Aizawa and Shigaraki, determined to protect his teacher at all costs. The villain watches him with wild eyes. He charges forward, but Izuku evades his outreached hand, instead grabbing Shigaraki's wrist and yanking him forward while simultaneously twisting on his heel and dealing a powerful kick to the villain's back. Shigaraki growls in frustration, and the two begin to fight again. Their intense duel continues, with every dodge from Izuku and every blow he lands fueling Shigaraki's growing rage and frustration. Finally, Izuku lands a punch on Shigaraki's face, causing the hand that covers half his face to fall off. The villain looks livid. Seething with anger, he takes a step back, glaring at the defiant green-haired boy. Time for the main show, he growls. "No, kill Eraserhead." Izuku watches in slow motion as a monstrous, deformed creature emerges the portal. In an instant, it's shoving Aizawa to the ground. Izuku hears a sickening crunch as the creature twists his teacher's already injured arm, but the screams are what make him freeze in his spot. After a split second, Izuku realizes he can't just stand idly by and watch. He has to do something. He has to save his teacher. Izuku dashes toward the Nomu, using his knives to scale the creature's back. It doesn't react as the metal pierces his rough skin, and Izuku continues to the top. His brain is exposed, that has to be its weakness. Izuku hears another crunch of bones from below the Nomu and feels sick to his stomach. He reaches the creature's head in an instant, not having time to think it completely through. He retrieves the long, thin daggers from their hiding spot and begins to viciously stab the exposed brain. Izuku doesn't think about the blood that splatters onto his face. He doesn't think of the sickening squelches from where metal meets brain. All he can think about is his teacher, about how he has to save him. Izuku stabs the knives relentlessly with all his strength, hoping, praying, that it will have some effect. As his hands and shirt become coated in blood and bits of brain, the Nomo finally loosens his grip, stumbling forward. Izuku continues, wanting to inflict as much pain as he can. Shigaraki watches in horror as his precious Nomo falls forward, collapsing to the ground. Stand up, kill the boy. Kill Eraserhead. Kill everyone. But despite his desperate, childish screams, the Nomo remains unresponsive on the ground. The purple void appears behind the villain, speaking in a low but firm voice. "Shigaraki, we need to leave. The symbol of peace isn't here, and Nomu is not responding." But the villain screams in anger, refusing to listen to reason. He charges forward, aiming for Izuku and thirsting for revenge. "I'll kill you." Izuku can feel the grin splitting his face, not caring to cover it up. He's been waiting for a challenge like this for a while now. "I'd like to see you try, fuckface." The students that have slowly began to gather around the central plaza watch in horror as Izuku provokes the dangerous villain, taunting him with every dodge, every hit, every word. With a fierce roundhouse kick, Izuku strikes Shigaraki's side, but instead of being thrown backward, he grabs onto Izuku's leg. Excruciating pain spreads through his lower leg like a web, but Izuku just grits his teeth, refusing to give Shigaraki the satisfaction of hearing his pained cries. He can feel as his skin begins to peel from his bones, creeping up his leg slowly, until suddenly, it stops. Shigaraki looks up in shock and confusion, only to see Eraserhead glaring at him from his crumpled position on the floor. Hitoshi has made his way to his injured dad, cradling the man's wounded head in his lap. "You've always been so cool, Eraserhead," Shigaraki says in a quiet voice that makes Izuku shiver. Amidst the distraction, Izuku takes the opportunity to break free. He yanks his injured leg away, launching himself at Shigaraki and tackling the villain to the ground. With the element of surprise on his side, Izuku lands several punches to the villain's face before the other can react, But then he's thrown backwards, the webbing pain from before now making its way through his enclosed fist. Before the pain can reach his wrists, there's a gust of wind and a loud, aggravating voice. "Do not fear, I am here." Izuku internally groans at the hero's late arrival. "Young Midoriya, I need you to remove yourself from this place immediately, you can't fight by yourself." "Fuck you," Izuku snarls, catching both students and teachers off guard. "I don't need your help, I've already disposed of that Nomu thing, I don't need your help with this petty villain." "Petty?" Shigaraki screeches, lunging forward once more. Izuku extends his staff and swings it roughly as he dodges the outstretched hands, the hit connecting with the villain's ribs. He ends up on the ground once more, but Izuku isn't satisfied. As All Might fights the multiple villains around the area, unable to reach the green-haired boy, the void returns. "Shigaraki, we're leaving." The voice is cold and determined, and for once, Shigaraki doesn't react like a child. Instead, he stands, hissing in pain as he retreats through the portal. "Next time, I'll kill you, player 2. And All Might as well." With that chilling threat, the void, along with Shigaraki, vanish into thin air. Izuku is left surrounded by fallen bodies, his once clean uniform now stained with blood and brains as he pants heavily in the center of the grounds. He attempts to catch his breath, but he's interrupted by a sudden puff of smoke. Before the rapidly growing cement walls can fully surround the hero, Izuku watches in shock as All Might's powerful form is replaced with a small, weak-looking man who's coughing up blood. Shaking his head, Izuku decides it's best to think about it later. Right now, he needs to check on his teacher and classmates. He limps quickly over to Aizawa, where he is cradled in Hitoshi's arms and held close. As the other heroes arrive, just minutes too late, Present Mike comes running over to the two, eyes wide with panic. Feeling it's best to give the family space, Izuku retreats to where the other students have grouped, trying to assess the situation amidst the chaos. "Is anyone hurt?" he asks over the commotion. Several voices respond. "Kaminari is unconscious, his head's bleeding. Aju's tail is badly injured. My hands are burnt but I'm okay." The voices continue to chime in, and Izuku quickly takes charge, making his way over to the injured students. "Yarozu, if you can, make some bandages, I need to stop Kaminari and Aju's bleeding." The girl nods, worry pinching her eyebrows as she attempts to create bandages. When her attempts fail, she slides to the ground, sobbing. "I'm sorry. I'm trying but it's not working." Izuku wastes no time removing his jacket, using a knife to tear the sleeves and skillfully applying the makeshift bandages tightly around Kaminari's head and Aju's tail. "Kirishima, I need you to carry Kaminari out front. The ambulances should be there already." The redhead nods and gets to work, lifting the smaller boy with ease. "Aju, can you walk?" The boy shakily nods, standing on unsteady legs. "Just in case, Sada can support you out to the front." As Izuku is about to continue with his directions, hoping to ease the panic that spreads through the class, Katsuki suddenly pushes to the front, an angry, pained look on his face. "You need to go up front. You're hurt." The students around him seem to suddenly become aware of the condition the green-haired boy is in. He stands with his weight mostly on one leg, the other dragging limply behind him, his skin peeling painfully. His hand is dangling loosely at his side as well, the knuckles bloody beneath their crumbling skin. He's bleeding heavily from his head and side, but it's hard to tell how much is his own and how much is simply the blood and brains from the Nomu. As Izuku begins to protest, surprisingly, it's Todoroki who steps forward. "He's right, you're injured, Midoriya. You've helped enough, you need to go to the hospital now." Izuku glares at the approaching boy. "I'm fine. I need to attend to the others." Pushing past Todoroki, Izuku makes his way to where Aoyama lays crumpled on the floor. "Lean on me, I'll take you up front." The blonde allows himself to be pulled to his feet, leaning most of his body weight on Izuku as they limp to the front. With every step, Izuku winces as the pain from his leg intensifies, but he pushes on. For the sake of Aoyama. For the sake of them all. When he arrives at the front, he hands the barely conscious boy to the paramedics who stand with a stretcher at the ready. He spots Hitoshi and Mike standing over Aizawa, who also lays on a stretcher, his hand clutching Mick's sleeve. The husbands leave in the ambulance, but Hitoshi stays behind, eyes locked on Izuku. By now, most students have exited the building and the paramedics are asking if anyone else is injured. Izuku stays silent. "Aizu," Hitoshi starts, voice wavering slightly. "You need to go to the hospital." The greenette looks down at his bloodied body. "I'm fine, Toshi." "Don't worry. You're not fine, don't say that. Go to the hospital." The boy's voice raises into a yell, yet is still trembles, causing the students close by to glance at them with worry. "I'm really fine, they have more important patients. I'm not that hurt." "Izuku. Look at me." The stern, cold tone makes Izuku finally meet Hitoshi's gaze. "Will you please go to the hospital?" Izuku bites down on his trembling bottom lip, guilt squeezing his chest. "I'm sorry, Toshi," but, in an instant, he can feel his mind go hazy. His vision fogs over and his body is no longer his to control. "Stop protesting and go with the paramedics to the hospital." Izuku silently walks to the ambulance as Hitoshi's quirk washes over him.